Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Sorry about the night off last night. I was sicker than a dog, but I seem to be over it. I'm functioning at about 65%, maybe 65.2%. But tonight we got a great show with you tonight. We're going to get into the Galactic Federation and everything around it. Dr. Lisa Thompson joins us all the way from Hawaii for a wonderful show. I'm going to tell you right now, she's got great hair. You're going to love her hair when you see her. Yeah. You know how I am about good hair. Dr. Lisa Thompson has great hair. Dirty Filth is here with another great cartoon. And the best part about tonight, all of you are here as well, including, let's see here. Well, we got Race Fan Ann B in the gold medal position. Race Fan with a silver. And taking home the bronze medal tonight is Tim Mothman and his goatee. Cosmic Joe, Kevin Kennedy, T-Bone, my man, how are you? Michael Fontaine, nice to see you. Kitty Catty Whack and Robert Lamoth, good to see you both. Brown Dwarf, Eternity Eternal, thank you for coming on in. And there's Stephanie Kenny Blankenship. Scott B is here. Scott B will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Continuing on here, Dragonfly, nice to see you. Little Timmy James, how you doing, buddy? Cosmo Fang, it's been a while. Thank you for coming on in. And Mama Catherine, mwah, love you, my dear. Hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful night. I miss you. Frankie B, how you doing, my man? Nice to see you. Karen in the Woo Train, Road Flare, Lee the Bee, nice to have you all here. Millennium, my man, thank you for coming on in. S for Bet, the Radio Wendigo is back. Radio Wendigo will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Thomas Rock, how you doing? Noble Patrick. Melissa Nicole, nice to see you back home. Pam Harris, good to see you. Hi, Philip. W. David Page, both of you, thank you for coming on in. The lovely Amy W.C., thank you for coming on in. Necessary Dialogue, Fapster. Operation Shutdown. Good to see you all as we continue on with our roll call tonight. Algaray over on Twitch. Bench press 500 pounds 65 times tonight just to make sure he was jacked up to see Dr. Lisa Thompson. Ginger Turtle, it's been a while. Nice to see you. Ozzy, J Truth Seeker, good to have you here. As we continue on with our roll call. Walter, nice to see you, my friend. Super crazy. Good to have you back. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. And Susan Alloway, good to see you. Sweet Robbie G, thank you, buddy, for filling in for me last night. You did a remarkable job, as per usual. I need more Robbie G. He is so sweet. That's why we call him Sweet Robbie G around here. Continuing on. And who is next on our list here? Digger Dog, nice to see you. How's Arizona, my man? Mike Rivers, good to see you. And we are caught up. We are caught up so far. Well, that always gives us time to start the radio and podcast side. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. This is the SOR that you have been waiting for. Dr. Lisa Thompson is our guest tonight on the big show, as we are having a great night with her tonight planned out. We're going to learn about the Galactic Federation as we get ready for tonight's show. We are in roll call. We want to remind everybody that if you're at our YouTube side, the super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. You can also shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You can actually wear our clothing in public and be proud of it. It's not like going to a garage sale or mowing the lawn or painting the bathroom. No, our clothing is much nicer than that. And Joanne, nice to see you. Bobbert, good to have you back. Excuse me. Hopefully I'm not coughing too much tonight because it's damn cold. I'm on the mend with it, but you know how they go. Ron Baca, nice to see you. As we got about 10 seconds to go here, and I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too. I need a favor, everybody. Throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight with our guest, Dr. Lisa Thompson, who comes to us from Hawaii. We're going to get into the Galactic Federation, past lives, aliens. She's got some aliens. If you got aliens, she's got aliens. I got some aliens too, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller is back with another creepy story. Jackie Harmon will then join us for the Crypted Report. Dr. Lisa Thompson is a best-selling author, speaker, Galactic Ambassador, and Intuitive Transformational Coach, specializing in human design and past life regression. She supports and empowers women to intentionally design their best life by living from their yes, so they can have self-embraced love, trust their intuition, and gracefully move forward through their fears to take inspired action to live a life they love. Lisa is a best-selling author of Connection to the Cosmos, Remembering Your Galactic Heritage and Embracing Your Oneness. Many other books as well. And we're glad to have her here on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Dr. Lisa Thompson, thank you for coming on in. How you doing?
I'm great. It's so great to be here with you.
Me too. How'd you get started in all of this?
Well, so I have actually been an experiencer contactee my entire life, it turns out. But I first discovered it, my first conscious memory of being taken onto a spacecraft was when I was 15 years old. And I was living on 20 acres outside of Olympia, Washington, so just south of you. And do you want me to go into the story now? Yep. Okay, perfect. So it was a nighttime experience. I was in bed asleep, so I don't remember how I got into the craft, but all of a sudden I wake up and I'm inside of this spacecraft. And it was a smaller shuttlecraft. It was just me and my ET guide. Now, when he picked me up, I didn't have any fear whatsoever. Number one, he looked very human, but he also felt like my friend, like I had met him before. And so we start flying through space. And from the perspective of being inside of the craft, the walls looked completely transparent, where you could just fully see out into space. So you could see the darkness, the pinpoints of the starlight, the different beautiful colors of the gases that we were passing through. And we finally landed where we were going. And my question to him was, where are we? He said that we were inside of Io, one of Jupiter's moons. And then he started touring me around what looked like a hospital facility where I could see into different rooms. People were being examined. Nothing scary, though, no probes or anything. But everyone looked human. So my next question to him was like, why are we here? Why am I here? And he said that those of us that had been brought there were being tested to see if something happened to Earth, if we could live in an environment like that or something similar. Now, this is back in 1988. We were still in the Cold War, on the verge of World War III. So there really was a timeline potential where something could have happened. So then at the end of the tour, I asked him if I could see what he really looked like. Because as a kid, I was obsessed with animals, and the weirder, the better. So I didn't think I would have any fear by whatever he showed me. So he was about 7 feet tall. He had pure white skin, big dark eyes, and long red hair, like fire engine red. And he had triads tattooed on his cheeks. So very extreme in his coloration and size and all of that, but completely benevolent. Now I get returned back home, and I remember vaguely the spacecraft being in my backyard, but I was laying there like, okay, that is the weirdest dream I've ever had. And I just kept thinking, okay, that was the weirdest dream. And for a few months, I really did just think it was a dream. Now I know now that dreams, we tend to forget details within the first 10 minutes of waking up. But fast forward a few months later, after that experience, I was reading Whitley Strieber's book, Communion, and probably a lot of your audience is familiar with that. So he's writing about his experiences of being taken by gray ETs. Now, at the end of his book, he's interviewing different people that had been taken, and they all have the same kind of gray experience that he's having, except for one guy had a completely different experience where he was taken to a moon of Jupiter and told he was one of the chosen ones. And Whitley made a little side comment, kind of sarcastically, saying, I hope it isn't Io. And when I read that, I had head to toe chills. Tears started coming down my face. And so that was my body's way of telling me that was a real experience, not just a dream. Now, at the time, my mother and I were part of a spiritual school of enlightenment, and we were learning about higher consciousness, higher dimensional reality, creating your reality, and all things higher dimensional, ETs, fairies, dragons, Squatch, all the things. And so when I realized it was real, I went and told my mom because I knew she would believe me. And a few days later, she introduced me to another person, another gentleman who was one of the students at our spiritual school, who had formerly been very high government, who knew about the different ET races that our government knows about and even works with. So I shared my story with him. And when I got to the point of describing what they look like, he was like, I don't know that race. He said, but we don't know all of them. There are so many out there, but you had a real experience. So not only did I have my own validation, but I had that external validation from that gentleman.
Whitley Strieber's Communion is the only book I've never finished.
Okay.
I read it in 1999, and I remember one night I was holding my infant daughter. She was only a couple months old, and it got to the point where he saw his son beside him in the craft, and I was like, nope, close the book. The bookmark is still on there. The book is still in a box somewhere in storage. I've never finished it. Still scares me, that one.
Well, and what's interesting is, I haven't read it since the late 80s. And I don't really care to now, because from my understanding, he's really changed his perspective on those experiences. He understands now from a higher perspective how he was part of that program.
As you went through this and you realized that this was something that was very real to you, How did you put it into perspective? You're an educated mind. How did you come to the fact that this wasn't a dream, this wasn't imagination, this was a reality that not many people have?
Well, throughout my life, I had always been looking to the stars, and I always felt different from my peers. And when I was 13, that's when we did start attending that spiritual school. And so I was learning things that were, quite advanced, I guess, compared to my friends who were going to church and doing really dogmatic religious things. And so, really started working with the clair abilities, expanding the mind, doing different types of meditation, and knowing that there's more to this reality than just this physical 3D world that a lot of people experience. And so I think just being exposed to that at an early age, and knowing that I was believed, but also, again, so when I had the head to toe chills, now I understand that's my clairsentience, my clear feeling. And so that's one of the ways I get information. I also have claircognizance and some of the other clairs, but my clairsentience is very, very strong.
As you embarked on this journey and started to try and figure out what was going on, you were also going to school to get your doctorate. And how were you able to blend both of them together? Because you're a woman of science, you're a woman of empowerment, and aliens really doesn't fit into that.
It really does not, especially in the 90s when I was in college and grad school. And so I knew my experiences were real, and I had had a lot of other kinds of experiences. And when I got to grad school and I was sharing with some of my cohorts, some of my experiences and my belief in things like Sasquatch and merpeople and dragons, they all thought I was crazy. And so I learned very quickly that I had to shut that side down to be taken seriously, actually, in my industry. And so really I compartmentalized. And it wasn't after I was a professor for a couple of years, but academia ended up not being a good fit for me because it was too in the box. Like, you were not really allowed to think outside the box because you wouldn't get funding to do your research. They wouldn't publish papers if you were outside the box. And so really I felt very confined in academia. And so when I left, I actually had gotten back into my spiritual school. And that's when we were learning the quantum mechanics underlying all of this spiritual stuff that we had learned throughout, my childhood and in my early 20s, and learning about the biology of belief and brain physiology and all of that. And so there was science to kind of back up what the experiences were. And so that really resonated with me. And we were learning then how to kind of communicate and see through into higher dimensions. We were doing different disciplines to really open up that third eye, the pineal gland, so that we could really understand that there's so much more than this reality. But when I got out of academia, I was still in very mainstream careers up until I moved here kind of to Hawaii, where I was in the mortgage industry for 5 years. So I definitely had to keep that spiritual side and the ET side hidden to be taken seriously. Then I owned an interior design and home staging business for 12 years, so still in the real estate industry. So everyone knew me as this very grounded, very practical, with a science background, but very good at what I was doing. And it was 7 years ago when I started my spiritual business. I had this calling that I needed to be doing something different. And I was still running my interior design business simultaneously with the spiritual business. And so I've only been here in Hawaii for just over 3.5 years. And so when I moved here, that's when I was able to shed the rest of the masks and fully step into who I'm here to be, which is a Galactic Ambassador and Channeler.
You chose this path in order to try and not only empower people, but to really show them that there is more to life than just paying bills, paying taxes, and trying to find the right partner to share the rest of your time with. Why did you find that so impactful for what you were doing?
Well, for myself, like I came to the realization that, especially when I started doing the past life work, and I'm changing that terminology from past life regression to parallel life regression, because at the quantum level, all timelines exist simultaneously. And so that was the first modality that I got trained in. And what that did for me was to help clear blockages and limitations, clear away root cause issues from other lives that I had brought in here. Because I came in to learn a lot of really challenging lessons in this life so that I could come out of it on the other side to share that wisdom and show people you can move forward. Now, most of my lives have not been on this earth. And so I've gotten to experience, some of these different lives, being ET or higher dimensional or other things. And really, we are all multidimensional. And so when I was willing to step into who I came here to be, which is to help whatever part of humanity is ready to shift into a higher vibrational reality, we call it the fifth dimensional ascension, but it's a higher frequency of vibration where the polarization ceases to exist. You understand that love is the basis of everything. Unity is underlying everything. We are all connected. We are all one. So really, when I fully embraced and integrated that into my life, then I could shine and help others realize that. And so now my ETs from the 80s, that I had a lot of interaction with, I had more than just that one. I was with them throughout my childhood, which is why they felt so familiar to me. And I've been with other groups too. But in 2018, October of 2018, I was taking a psychic intuition class. And on the first night of class, that's actually when I met my Arcturian family. And I didn't know who they were at the time, but their message to me was, you are one of us, we are one of you, we are family. And now, over the last 6 years, I've developed that relationship with them to understand my role. And that's the first group. So I do channel now 13 different galactic races, but the Arcturians are my primary group. They were the first ones to come through. And they're really the ones that help me do the ambassador work that I am here to do.
How do you think you got chosen?
Well, I know I volunteered. Everything is a soul contract agreement from my understanding. And so, because I am more not of this earth than of this earth, that I volunteered for quite a few things. I am also part of the Zeta Human Hybrid Program. So I know as a Zeta, I would have volunteered to come back as a human to donate my genetics to be part of that hybrid program. And I know, again, from my Arcturian realm, I'm here to help people heal their emotions, their traumas. From my Syrian life, I'm here with the physical healing. My Mantis life, I'm here, master healer, master geneticist. And so a lot of my lives, I've actually, not on Earth, but I've been kind of the biologist. I have been a genetic engineer. I've been the keeper of biodiversity. And actually, they're giving me a download right now. So,
Hold on. What are they saying if they're downloading you right now?
It's a tone. So they're not talking directly to me, but they're validating everything I'm saying. So now I do get information from them in other ways. And I have opened up my vocal channel. So that's how they primarily communicate with me.
Do you ever get that ringing in your ear? Like, it's not like tinnitus, but all of a sudden your ear will start ringing and it feels like it's plugging.
Yeah, that's just what happened. And I know when it's on my left side, it's usually my Arcturians that are doing that.
Usually when that happens to me, I will say, can you turn it down, please? And immediately they'll turn it down.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun how that kind of woo works.
Yeah.
You know? Okay, we got about 4.5 minutes before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Dr. Lisa Thompson is with us. How did you get connected with the Galactic Federation?
So I know you said that, but I don't think I ever told you I was part of the Galactic Federation. And so I actually don't work with the Federation.
Okay, I thought you did.
Nope. They did invite me to work with them, and I chose not to. And now that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with the Galactic Federations. There are different federations, different councils. But what I do instead is work more individually with different higher dimensional ET races. So again, to date, I have 13 different groups, and the bio that you read is a little bit older. So last year, I wrote my newest book, Wisdom of the Galactics, Channeled Messages to Elevate Your Life. And then I also do a night sky watch UFO tour here on the Big Island of Hawaii. And so a lot of the craft that I do think that we are seeing when we do the UFO tours, I think they are Federation craft that are kind of patrolling Earth and watching over us. But then we also have other craft, Pleiadian, Andromedan.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume then in this realm of so-called disclosure, which I like to call confirmation because it's not disclosure, you're not really hip to the fact that this is a threat narrative.
Oh, absolutely not. What I fully understand is that if they wanted to take over or do anything harmful to us, they would have done so far long ago. They actually, we've had visitation throughout Earth's history, and especially through humanity's evolution. So we have up to 22 different ET races in our DNA. And so some of them that are watching over us are actually our family. And, they're trying to do everything they can to make sure we don't destroy ourselves or Earth, because everything we do here on Earth has a direct ripple effect out into the solar system, galaxy, universe, through dimensions. So some of them are watching us as a curiosity thing because our planet is at a very interesting time and we have so much diversity here compared to a lot of other planets. So when we developed the atomic weapons in the 40s, that's when we started having a lot of craft showing up again. And again, they can't go against our free will, kind of like the Star Trek Prime Directive, but they can interfere in ways of taking out nuclear missiles that have been launched, shutting them down. And there are a lot of cases out there of them doing that. And it's not a threat at all. So if anything ever happens, that seems to be like an invasion, it's not the ETs doing it. It's going to be the governments to keep people in fear and control.
I would agree with you on that. I would totally agree. It's funny that every other country out there who has talked UFOs, not UAP, which are man-made. Let's get back to UFOs. They have not announced any sort of threat narrative whatsoever except the United States.
Yeah.
I find that very interesting. It's
money, it's power, control. If they can keep people in fear, then, then we're like sheep.
Well, I mean, let's face it, threats create budget.
Mm-hmm. They do.
And there is a lot of technical information that could be in with these craft and reverse engineering that we have that can bring trillions of dollars, but that's for another topic, another time. We got about 20 seconds to go here before we're going to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Dr. Lisa Thompson is our guest tonight. Want to know who the Guardians are. We want to know who these aliens are that are watching over us. What is it? Is there a spiritual aspect to them? Is there more of a timeline aspect? Are we all living at once in many different timelines? Dr. Lisa Thompson, award-winning author, is here tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to get into that and more when she returns with us. We got it for another 90 minutes here on the Mighty SOR. Stay tuned, everybody. All right, we are clear. All right, now we just get to chat and hang out, watch Dirty Filth with his nice cartoon. Hi, Warden Dragon. How you doing? Told you that was a quick half hour.
It was very fast.
Yes, that's what we do around here. We do things fast. I apologize, people. You're going to hear me blow my nose and cough quite a bit tonight. I'm trying not to, but in order for me to get through the show, I'm going to have to. Yeah, I'm sweating like a pig right now. It's awesome. Awesome.
That'll help you heal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's why I got my thick wool sweater on tonight, because I knew I would drain myself of all this crap. Nice alien behind you.
Thank you. That's Zanaya, nicknamed Z. I have two others as well. I have an entire tiki
Hold on, I'm going to lean on you here.
Okay.
Oh, that almost looks like Carl. It almost looks like Carl. Carl is one of my aliens that showed up while I was broadcasting this show.
Oh.
Yeah. He showed up at my window, and I turned and looked, and I was looking right at him. And I did what any man would do. I fell back in my chair and screamed like a schoolgirl. And yeah, Carl came back a few years later. He hasn't been back since. But he came back a few years later, and I was listening to him and his buddies have a conversation up and down my driveway. That was kind of fun.
That's interesting. One of my best friend here, he's had that experience of them chatting over him in bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When's the last time you were taken?
Well, I astral travel regularly, so I think usually they're coming to me to do the work as opposed to taking me up into ships.
Right.
And so the last time I consciously remember that happening was the night my husband committed suicide.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. So that was a year.
Last time I was taken was in February.
Okay.
Yeah. That was kind of a cool one because my dad was on there with me.
Okay. Is he currently living?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a first. Oh. Mine always start off, they don't allow me to see the craft or to know what goes on while I'm on it. Only a couple times do I have recall of that.
Okay.
But usually I always know when it's going to happen because I'll be in a dream state and I will feel the gravitational pull. And then I'm like, oh, God, here we go. Right?
Yeah. Do you know what group is taking you? Is it the Zetas?
I don't know what group. I know it's a group of Greys.
Okay.
Likely
the Zetas.
I've been taken by about 4 or 5 different groups of Greys.
Okay.
And my first ET experience, we did see Andromedans. Or were they Arcturians? Arcturians. I've been around Andromedans. But mostly the times that I've been taken when I've woken up on craft, it's always been around grays. Excuse me. All right, we got about 30 seconds here, I'm going to assume. Yeah, about 30 seconds, 37 seconds. Do I have my own craft? I wish I did. They haven't let me fly the craft yet. That's the thing that I'm pissed off about. I've kind of put it out there. Actually, I'll ask this during the show. Let's leave it. We're coming back here. Thank you to Richard for the lone super chat tonight. And here we go. Here we go, the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're bringing the Andromedans, the Greys, the Arcturians, every species to you tonight. Why not? That's what we do here on the Mighty SOR. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Dr. Lisa Thompson is here tonight. We're going to learn about our guardians from the Galactic. We're going to learn about aliens, UFOs, ET contact, past life regression, everything in between. She's an award-winning author as well. How do you know when you've been taken, Dr. Lisa?
Well, actually, they don't let me remember a lot of the experiences because I do work with so many different groups. And I know in a regression session that I had done on me, I do work with the Agarthans, the inner earth beings, and they absolutely don't let me remember what it's like being there because I wouldn't ever want to come back. So usually the work that I do that I'm conscious of is, again, when I channel or when I do my UFO tours, or I'm just a personal experience of seeing craft and asking them to do things. So I've got some really kind of fun stories about that.
So you're more taken spiritually than you are physically.
Yes. And so the beings that I work with are higher dimensional beings where a lot of them are not even physical. They're at the level where they're more energy. And so what's interesting is that the group that I'd been taken to IO with, there are different ET species almanacs that different authors have written and illustrated. And I have tried to search for who this group is. No one has ever described them. I've never heard of anyone else talk about them. And so a few years ago, I was working with one of my psychic medium friends, and I wanted to understand, why are they not known? And they did come through, and the message that they shared was that they actually don't really work with Earth much at all. They're not part of any of the Galactic Federations. They're very neutral, but they do have an association with the Arcturians. And so because my most closest group that I'm in this Earth life that I'm connected with are my Arcturians, they asked this group to look after me throughout my life because the Arcturians can't help in the same kind of physical way that this group from IO could. And so when I connect with these higher dimensional beings, and I help my clients do this and my UFO tour guests, we do it as an inward journey because you have to really first raise your own vibration to come to a place where you're closer to where they are and they're able to lower their vibration to have a common middle space. And that's where communication happens. So it really is, yes, much more at a spiritual level. That's what I'm here to interact with them as.
when you have that communication, is it like a regular conversation, like, hey, how you doing? What'd you think of the football game yesterday? Or is it always business?
It's business. Well, and what's interesting is that these groups that I channel, so what I realized when I started working with the Arcturians is that, so when I met them, there was a group of them, but there was one that was more to the front that was the spokesperson. And the name that was given to me for that individual, even though they're a collective, was Uluru. And so what I have come to realize is when I met them, I was meeting myself in my Arcturian form. So I am Uluru. So when I'm channeling, I'm actually channeling myself from that realm. And then beginning of 2023, they're like, okay, it's time to bring in some of your other groups. I have a lot more than just the 13. They're like, it's time to bring in an additional 12 groups that you're going to allow them to share messages through you. And so the first half of 2023, I led 13 different sessions, one for each of these races. And it's all recorded, and it's in my book, Wisdom of the Galactics, as well. And so they wanted to bring through understanding from their perspective from these higher dimensional realms. Now, what made it easier for me to do this was knowing I'm just channeling myself from those realms, because we are multidimensional. You asked the question before the commercial break about, are we living multiple timelines right now? Yes, we're living every timeline right now. It's just, what are we tuned into, like a radio station? What frequency are we tuned into? And so by doing this really deep regression work, hypnosis is another word for that. When we go deep into the subconscious, all the answers are there, and we can tap into all of these other lives very easily.
As we tap into those different timelines, how do we know they are running simultaneously? So are there multiple Lisa Thompsons doing interviews right now on
Yes.
Spaced Out Radio? Is there Lisa Thompson who's, say, 80 years old? Is there Lisa Thompsons that are 2 years old right now?
Yeah, there are. And so the interesting thing, and this is one of the biggest messages right over the last probably 3 years that my Arcturians have been sharing and really trying to hammer in, is that because all timelines do exist simultaneously, we do have many timelines of Earth that are existing. And so you get to choose what timeline you want to be a part of. And it's simply a matter of where you're putting your focus and attention and your emotions. And so if things are not going well in your life, it's likely because you're putting your attention on negative, lower energy kinds of frequencies. So you can very easily shift into coming from a state of joy, being in gratitude, following your passions, playing, having just lighter energy, staying out of the polarized reality of this earth, staying out of the news, out of the media, out of the politics. The more that you do that, you are creating your own environment, and you are shifting to a different timeline that then will propel you into a higher dimensional reality ultimately. So they told me I could not watch the news anymore 3 years ago, and I had to fully stay out of politics, anything that was polarized.
Well, it is quite a polarizing time right now for absolutely everything. And I think a lot of us have tuned out the mainstream media because it is just the way it is. It's not conducive to telling what's truly going on out there. I say that as a former member of the mainstream media. I don't like it. I don't like it a bit. As you are pushing forward your agenda for learning and helping guide people to open up their mind, their bodies, their souls on this, how do the ETs react to this as we start to open up? How do we notice what they are doing?
Well, they show up more. So number one, when I started asking for them to show themselves, if they could, just to like give me validation that they were there with me. I could know it at one level, but seeing it also helps that validation. And the more that I was asking and coming from a place in my heart, from a place of love, they show up all the time. Like they are always there with me. And so by the work that I really do is to help people understand that, number one, there's nothing to be afraid of. And they're here to help us. Just like we have angels, we have spirit guides, guardians, animal guides, elemental guides. We also have galactic guides. And because we do have free will here on Earth, we have to ask for them to help us. They can't go against that free will. So, if we really want that higher dimensional help from whatever realm it is, we have to ask.
And what is it we are asking? And why would we want to ask?
Well, so, a lot of humans are on autopilot in their daily lives. They wake up, they go to work, they come home, maybe watch some TV, go to bed. They're not living a life where they are truly evolving, making known the unknown. And from the spiritual school that I grew up in, that was one of the tenets of the school is we are here to make known the unknown. We are not here to just stay in a loop. And so that's, it's time for people to shift, to get out of wherever they might be stuck in their lives, whatever illness they have, whatever relationship problems they're having, career problems, financial problems, all of that can be elevated by calling in help and being willing to move, grow, and change.
Is it about spiritual enlightenment? Is that what we are going for?
It is. And really from their perspective, they want us to shift into understanding who we really are, where we really come from. And they have absolutely no judgment on people that are not ready to wake up to that as well, because all timelines are existing. And so if someone wants to stay stuck in their trauma, in their 3D reality, and staying even stuck in the polarized reality, that's perfectly fine. There's no judgment, because there is no right time for an individual to shift into these higher dimensions, because they'll just keep doing it until they're ready, essentially.
When we sit there and we try and figure out what's out there in the universe, it's a night where, say it's a clear night out in the sky, we're staring up in the stars and trying to send a message up there, much like Pink Floyd, is there anybody out there? How do we connect? How do we connect with what we are doing?
Well, so that's one of the things that I teach people how to do on my tours. And really, it is by learning to raise our vibration. What I will say is that, when I'm leading the tours, they are always showing up. Now, we have more activity when people are in a state of excitement about it, and they're totally open-minded. The more skeptics that I have on a tour, we're not going to see as much activity because they're not open to it. And so really, by knowing that this is real phenomena, and, not all of it is visible to us, because some of these beings, again, reside in higher dimensional reality where they're completely outside of our perception. We can't see them. Sometimes cameras and video cameras can pick them up because they don't have the same judgment or filter. But if something is really in a higher dimensional reality, they can densify to show themselves if they choose to. But really, it's a connection of the heart, and it's asking from a place of love. And so on my extended spiritual tour, I lead people through a guided meditative journey to raise their vibration, to really call in only that which is of love. And then I basically help bridge them with their galactic family or guides and learn how to vector them in, how to invite them to come and show them where they are. And if it's safe to do so, to show them signs that they're there. It's not always safe for them to show themselves. Now, here in Hawaii, it's really safe because we're the most remote place in the world. But they can't always necessarily show themselves in highly populated areas, especially with military.
As you move forward with your message for people and the people whom you are teaching on a daily basis, do you look at the people who are coming to you as broken souls? Do you look at them as people who are not understanding their pathway?
I don't think anyone is a broken soul. This reality, this isn't real. This is a dream. So we are whole and complete. And this is just one little filament of a life that we think is real. But ultimately, we are connected to source. We are all connected to each other. And so there really is from my perspective, nothing that is broken. It's just that some humans still, they don't understand who and what they are. They think perhaps this is the only life that they're ever going to live, right? The phrase "you only live once" is not true in my perspective. And with my many years of clients who have experienced their past parallel lives, the lives that I've experienced, just there's so much more out there than what we have been led to understand. And we're at a critical time where there are a lot of people starting to wake up and understand that this is a game. It's really a game. And then when you know it's a game, then you can learn the rules and learn how to play it consciously.
Why? I'm confused why you would call life a game. Because for many people, it's not a lot of fun right now. This is worse than Monopoly.
Well, okay. So here's the interesting thing is, so when I brought through the Orions last year, they led the journey of looking at Earth like an amusement park. Okay. So like Disney World or Epcot Center. So think of if we live more than one life, we actually come to experience all sides of things. We come here to be murdered and be the murderer. We come here to, to be poor, to be rich. We've lived everything because, again, everything's simultaneous. And so really we come here as short of a life as we might have or as extensive of a life we might have to learn lessons, to gain the wisdom, to feed that information back to source. And so even though some people, like, again, I've chosen a lot of really challenging lessons in this life. And now I know I chose this life specifically. I chose those lessons to learn those hard experiences so that I could gain the wisdom and come out on the other side even stronger and then show people, okay, you can do the same thing. And so, yeah, I mean, anyone who is in, famine or war or whatever, again, it's a soul contract agreement. They're choosing that before they incarnate here on Earth, from my perspective, from my understanding.
Do you think then that we're all alien? We're just here for a tour of duty?
Well, they do call this Earth School. So yes, I do believe everyone here on Earth is, they have other realities, other timelines where they are not of this Earth. So yes, everyone does have that connection. It's not that you just incarnate on Earth for your very first life. No, you actually, you have a lot of other lives before you might be ready to consciously experience Earth School.
Wow, what an education we're getting here as we got about 5 minutes to go before we go to break at the top of the hour. Dr. Lisa Thompson is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. The connections that you have with these different ET species, whether it's the Orions, whether it's the Arcturians, the Andromedans, the Greys, or whoever, it may be. Do they all have different messages? Do they all have different teachings?
Yeah, some of them have very similar meaning or messages, because when you get to fifth dimension and higher, all of those beings, they're no longer polarized. They, there's no more judgment. They're all allowing, they're empathetic, and it's pure love. And so, they all have very similar messages like that. But some of them focus on some different aspects. So like I mentioned, the Arcturians, they really focus on emotional healing of people as well as the earth. And so last year, 3 of my groups came through and they gave me a unique healing modality that I call Galactic Ascension Channeling, where they are channeling their energy from those higher realms through me so I can help my clients heal very, very fast. And so the Arcturians are emotional healing. My Syrians are more of the physical healing side. And again, the Mantis are the master healers. So that's like the cherry on top that this energy is coming through. So the Andromedans, their messages tend to be more about like justice and peace. The Pleiadians are bringing in messages more like of the divine feminine, because we've been stuck in this patriarchy for far too long. And it's not that women should be ruling, it's that we need the divine feminine and the divine masculine to come together in harmony. And so that not one is not better than the other. They also have beautiful messages of compassion and empathy. And as far as the Agarthans, the inner earth beings, which we have a lot of the inner earth experiences here in Hawaii. Their ships are coming in and out of the water, the transmedium craft, as they come and check out what's going up here on the surface. And so they're really about being in balance, with nature, with the environment. And then, so that's some of the different groups and what they're bringing forth.
2 minutes to go here. Why do you think they take us then? What's the purpose?
Okay, so different groups take people for different reasons. So some people are taken onto the craft for healing because perhaps, again, they have that really strong connection with that group, and they have a contract with them of like, okay, you're going to take me on the craft to help heal my body. The people who commonly experience the Zetas, they're being taken because they're part of the Zeta Human Hybrid Program. And again, I'm one of those volunteers. I have hybrid children. I have not met them consciously yet, but that will happen in the future. And, people aren't, again, really taken against their will. They can't go against our free will. Now, some people who have had really bad experiences, it likely wasn't the ETs that were taking them. I know there are people who have shared stories about being part of a government experiment. And I personally am not involved in that, and I don't go there, with the information, but I know that is something that has happened.
Well, you know what? That's something I will disagree with you with, only because I've had the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to being taken. And I know the ugly that I experienced was definitely not a human situation.
Okay.
I know that I was not here.
Well,
right.
And so I'd be curious if you've ever been regressed properly to find out what that experience was about. Because
I have been regressed, actually.
Okay.
I actually have by Geraldine Orozco.
Okay.
Let's get into this when we return, because this is an interesting story. Dr. Lisa Thompson is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to get into what it's like to be regressed next. And we're going to get into more aliens, UFOs, past lives. We'll even try and sneak in some questions from all of you. So if you're in one of our chat rooms, make sure you put your questions in capital letters. I will get them to Dr. Lisa here in just a little bit. This is Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Our guest is Dr. Lisa Thompson. Hour 1 is complete. Hour 2 is next. Stay tuned, everybody. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. Excuse me. And Mel Tulip, how you doing? And Gamer Quest, nice to see you. Yes, the Katy Perry part was especially interesting. Oh, how I love Katy Perry. Major Lee, how you doing? All right, we're going to turn things over to Mr. Dirty Filth here, our resident cartoonist, Dr. Lisa. We got about 5.5 minutes, okay?
Okay.
You can chat with Filthy if you want. He's nice. He doesn't bite. He just forgets to turn his microphone on.
I'm getting better at that, Dave, I promise. Okay, so Dave was sick with leprosy yesterday, so we couldn't make it on the show. And luckily, our pal Rob G was there to swoop in at the last second and, save the day. He suplexed that show out. Good job, Rob G. Love you, buddy boy. Anyway, I also had prior engagements. It was very important. The 23rd of September is the best day of the year. Anyway, so they discovered Neptune on that day. So here's Carl and Stanton and Alan, and they're sitting around. Excuse me. Carl's telling them that despite their primitive technology, humans discovered Neptune on the 23rd day of September, 1864. I know there's lots of people that can say, well, you know what, Dirty Filth? What about all the ancient Greeks and all those crazy guys with their nice beards and sexily oiled bodies? Well, it was confirmed on that day, so that's what I had to go with. And they're gray aliens. They're trying to figure out how stuff works on Earth. They're confused by things like hockey, where players can physically assault one another without any legal ramifications. So, yes. I hope everybody's having a great night. I've heard the name Katy Perry, and I've never heard her music, and I'm guessing she's a musician, or probably an actress. She should probably join a death metal band like Cannibal Corpse. Oops. Hope that doesn't get you a strike, Dave. Sorry. Yes, let's see what everyone's doing here. Hope everyone's having a good night. Hi, Paramarv. Hi, Rob G. Abbott Hoffman. The Andromedan. I wonder what the internet's like out in Andromeda. The aliens never disclosed where they are from. Oddly enough, the Watchers were not sure what house I resided in. They knew that I lived on Ramsay. That was about it. Resonate, that sounds like a really bad pizza guy that can't find a place. I mean, hockey is just a stand around law. You know what, Abbott Hoffman? I've been in one fist fight in my life. I also got sucker punched at the Safeway one time. That was interesting. Yeah, Jason H. Ace Ventura. Apparently, I was going to say Jim Varney, but I was thinking about Ernest Scared Stupid. But Jim Carrey is apparently a gigantic Cannibal Corpse fan. Cannibal Corpse happens to actually be the first band I ever seen live. That was a pretty cool show. Hot July day. I'm a West End type of man. I do live on the West End of my city. Yes, so I would be a West End type of man. I'm not sure if that's some kind of cool kid teenager lingo. So, yes. Quote me down as that. Whatever it is, put me down for 3. But anyways, apparently, Jim Carrey, giant Cannibal Corpse fan. And they're actually pretty cool. George Corpse Grinder Fisher, the singer, noted horde player for World of Warcraft. His big thing is that he goes to all those stuffy machines and he plays for all the stuffy animals, and then he wins a bunch of those little stuffy animals, and then he donates them to hospitals for sick kids. So that's pretty noble. It's just a method of painting, takes practice. Okay, I'll West End type event. I'll have to scribble that down and give it a try. I like my watercolors, but I've been known to dabble in acrylics. I've done one oil painting. It's a little... It takes too long because you have to wait a while, and then you can manipulate it, and then it's just all over the place. And yeah, I'm kind of rammy when it comes to that. Well, look, there's Dave.
Dave's back.
Sneaking back in.
Sneaking
I
back
even
in.
mentioned not swear once again. I'm on a
You
6
are
months.
amazing. How did you do that?
Cat's clawing at my feet, trying not to swear.
Uh-huh. Perfect. I love the cartoon tonight, buddy.
I sent one in the group chat so you can have a better look at it later.
Beautiful.
Have a good night, everyone.
All right, buddy. Take care. That's Dirty Filth, everybody. Thank you for the great art. Thank you to Richard for our lone super chat tonight. Greatly appreciate it. And we're coming back here in like 15 seconds. Reminder to everybody, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. Here we go, everybody. Here comes hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Alien species, past life regressions. Dr. Linda Thompson or Lisa Thompson will be here just momentarily. I want to say hello to everybody listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam is set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Abduction. Abduction is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's return to Dr. Lisa Thompson, coming in from Hawaii, teaching us all about galactic communication, how we live on major timelines in every timeline. We're all about the timelines tonight. Dr. Thompson, welcome back.
Thank you so much.
I'm having fun tonight with you, so thank you.
Yeah, me too. So we were going to just start talking about your regressed experience.
Yes. Always comes down to my regression, doesn't it?
Well, I know who Geraldine is, but I don't know her background in how she got trained.
Well, she was trained a few years ago on this, and I did my regression in 2022 in San Francisco at UFO Con. And she put me under. I thought I was only under for about 10 minutes. Apparently, I was under for about 2.5 hours. And we went through everything about why I was connected and who I was connected with, why I was being brought on craft, and the message being the medium that I'm supposed to be doing this show and talking about everything. I've met a number of interesting people up there, apparently even Katy Perry. Yes, who is my earthly crush, by the way. Oh, Katy. Katy. Okay, back to reality here for a second. So we went through my abductions and you know why things are happening. I'm part of the hybridization program. It is, you know, I've had the traumatic, I've had the interesting, I've been implanted, you know, for reasoning. They want to know what I'm all about. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Well, and do you have an understanding of why you chose to have those experiences here as Dave?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. No, I allow things to come. Part of my problem is I work too much.
Mm.
I work a daytime job. I work the radio job at night. And being a workaholic, I've put my spiritual enlightenment on hiatus for the sake of everybody else. Now, before I started the show, where I was concentrating on everything and learning more about my own intuition, my own understanding of everything, I got hit like an absolute penny on a railroad track, where everything happened so fast at once. It was like I was, lack of a better term, fast tracked with all of these experiences. And it got to the point where if I wanted to see something, all I had to do was put it out there and ask, and it would happen. And, coming into this job, talking about this on a nightly basis, for a lot of people who listen, or even interviews that I have taken part in, people are highly critical. Oh, that can't happen. Nobody has that many experiences. You can't just do that. You're lying. You're making this stuff up. You're just doing it for attention, for clicks, for subscribership, for radio stations. And that's not the case at all.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what the hell happened to me.
Right.
But since I have been putting too much on my plate the last number of years, it's really diluted my own knowledge and my own experiential part that I had grown. So I'm in a real catch-22 right now.
Got it. Well,
Yeah.
I resonate with that. There are probably people out there that think I'm making everything up, and they can believe whatever they want. I know the reality of my experiences and why I've had them, why I'm here. And so, like you, I'm here to share the messages.
The question, though, is, for a lot of us who've been thrown into this, is why does it happen? Why have we allowed this to happen to ourselves? I don't think a lot of people fully comprehend that.
So in terms of being experiencers?
Being an experiencer, having all of these weird things happen, why we've allowed it to happen, trying to figure out why I'm here, why this has happened. I mean, my experiences that I resonate with really didn't happen until I was 38 years old.
Okay. So, I think a lot of us that have been experiencers, it's because we're at a very critical time in Earth's history and Earth's presence, where there are timelines where we're going to have open contact within our lifetime. And so the more that those of us have experiences and know it's real, and there's no fear around it, then we're preparing ourselves to have open communication with our galactic family and neighbors. And so really that is my understanding. And that's again why I do the work that I do, is so to help prepare people for that kind of open contact. I know a lot of people want full government disclosure, but we are the disclosure. Those of us who have the experiences, we are the disclosure. We don't need the government to tell us whether it's real or not. We have the truth, right? And so I think more and more people are opening their minds to being able to experience the phenomena, whether they are taken on the craft or they just see the spacecraft, because even that can transform people's lives. I know the last 3 years that I've been doing the UFO tours, people who come on my tour are blown away, and their minds are expanded. And now they're looking at reality, looking at Earth in a whole new way. So I think for those of us like you and me who are here to share information and have guests on our shows, because I have my podcast as well. And, we're here to help open minds.
We can open minds, but how do we get it to sink in?
Well, that's not our job. Our job is just to plant the seeds, and whoever is ready then to allow themselves to let those seeds grow in terms of their curiosity, in terms of, again, staying open to the possibilities. That's at least my understanding. I'm not here to convince anyone of anything. You know, someone who is very close-minded, like my second husband, not the one that passed away. I had 3 husbands. But my second husband was completely skeptical. He did not believe in anything that I believed in. He had to like see it, touch it, feel it for it to be real. And, you know, so people like that, you're not going to change their minds no matter what you say. And even if they see something, they're not necessarily going to believe it.
There's a lot of those people out there.
There are. And what's really interesting, though, is that, again, the 3 years that I've been hosting my UFO tours, I offer 2 options. I have an intro option, which is for more of the curiosity kind of people that might be 50-50. Is it real or not? And then I have an extended spiritual tour where people really want to do that deep dive connection. And what's fascinated me is that at least 50% of my tours are the extended spiritual when people come. So more and more people are really understanding that, you know, this is real phenomena and they want that deeper connection. And so that gives me hope anyway.
For those who've never experienced being regressed, what is the purpose of it? How do we open up mentally to being regressed?
Okay, so there are a lot of practical reasons for someone to have regression done. So the way that I was originally trained, it was to basically heal, remove blockages and limitations, because we do get stuck as Earth humans playing this game. We get stuck in patterns that might not be healthy. We might have irrational fears where we don't understand where it comes from. We might have illness in the body because most of illness is actually rooted in emotional trauma, stuck emotions. We might have financial issues, relationship issues. And so the way that I was trained to do the regression work is to get to whatever life, that root cause, and then what we can do in that deep state of relaxation, which is at the quantum level, is we can either completely rewrite the story for a new outcome, or they can simply understand it from a higher perspective, understand what the wisdom is, which then transmutes that energy, it releases it. And so when they come out of the regression, it starts to rewire the brain to the new reality. Now, another way that regression can be used is to pull forth talent, skills, and abilities that we have in these other lives. So I have had clients like that. I've also had people come to me that have missing time. They know they had some kind of experience, perhaps with an ET or a craft, and they don't remember the details. And so I've had clients where I've helped them get the full memory back of what the experience was and to understand it.
Oh, that is one thing that I have not had happen personally, is missing time. What usually happens when someone is missing time?
Well, from my understanding, the missing time really is some kind of ET experience. So whether they're taken onto a craft, or in the case of one of my friends that I regressed, he experienced his ET in a cave in Thailand and had massive missing time with that. So, you know, that is, I think, what is going on there. I have other friends that have a really weird missing time story when they were driving through Nevada, and they're driving on the only road that they can go to their destination, and they get there like 2 hours ahead of time before like if they were just driving normally. And so, and then when they got to Vegas, then they had this super weird experience in the elevator as well. And so, yeah, so I think it's contact that people are having.
Is it usually scary for people who have missing time?
I think it depends on the person, because the more deep healing work that we do within ourselves, the more we clear those blockages, we face our shadows, those darker parts of ourselves, then we don't have fear anymore. And so a lot of people still have a lot of deep healing that perhaps it's from their lifetime, this lifetime, maybe from their childhood. It could be something they brought in from other lives. It could even be in the ancestral bloodline. So the more that people are really willing to do the inner work on themselves, it releases the fear, and it also releases the judgment that they have of themselves, but then also other people. And that is then how we are seeing things from a higher perspective and allowing people to just be, to have whatever ideas they have. And that is really what shifting into that fifth dimensional reality is about.
Dr. Lisa Thompson is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. When people are taken, what usually happens to them?
Well, again, there's so many different things that can happen. So again, sometimes it can be healing. Sometimes they're visiting their hybrid children to nurture them, because the Zetas, they don't have emotions. They bred out all their emotions. And why we have this agreement with them is they are breeding in emotions into this advanced, hybrid race of children. And so they bring the humans onto the craft to hold the babies, to give nurturing love to them. And then sometimes maybe that's when they're taking the genetics to create more hybrids. So there are a lot of different experiences. And I know, like the Travis Walton story, the movie was completely wrong about what his experience was. Hollywood completely terrorized his story, and that's not what the experience was. They brought him onto the craft to heal him because he had gotten some radiation from being too close to the craft. Because we have different types of craft, but some of them put out massive energy that can really harm this human body. And so I think when people are being brought onto the craft, whatever the blue light or the white light that people might experience, that is creating kind of an environment so that it doesn't harm the human physical body.
Are most people taken spiritually, or are they taken physically?
I would say more people have spiritual astral travels in their dream state than they are being taken physically. Now, there are quite a few humans who did sign up for that Zeta Human Hybrid program. And so that's more, I would say, a physical thing. But, all of us, again, we're multidimensional. We're doing work when we're asleep. We're doing our jobs and our other lives. And so, and even some of the dreams that we have, those are experiences. Those are real lives going on in these kind of parallel timelines.
Talk about the parallel timelines a little bit, because you, as you stated earlier in the show, believe that we are all living on numerous timelines at once. How does this work?
So imagine timelines like a stack of paper, right? Like a ream of paper. And so imagine infinite number of timelines. So they're all existing simultaneously. They all might have an experience of a past and a future on that linear kind of timeline, even though really once you get to that fifth dimensional level, again, time doesn't exist. It's really non-relative. But so imagine every choice that we make, every fork in the road that we take creates a new timeline split. And so there's me here on the show with you, and then there's me who might have said, no, I don't want to do the show. And those are two different timelines that are existing, even little tiny shifts. And so really, we are creating new timelines all the time. They're all existing simultaneously. And so when we do these regressions as well, we have all the answers inside of us. So when we get regressed to a deep enough level, we can pull forth our higher self to get answers for ourselves, to get healing. We can also tap into these other timelines, whether it's ET lives like I've done, or even Earth lives. And so we can get the information from these lives by doing that kind of work. Does that make sense?
It does. It's hard to fathom that there are multiple people of me out there right now. Now, do we all have the same career? Do we all have the same?
No, because you would have made choices at different points in your life, right? So like for me, I'm on my fourth career. My first career was a professor. So there's Lisa, who's still a professor, tenured now, probably in chair department head, something like that. But this Lisa, I chose to leave academia. There's another Lisa who decided never to have kids. I have 2 Earth children in this incarnation of Lisa. And so every choice, again, that we're making is creating different timeline splits that are existing.
What happens if you were to meet yourself on a different timeline?
Well, I think that sometimes the time kind of slips in and out occasionally. And I have not personally experienced this, but that might even be kind of doppelganger kind of reality. I know one of my good friends, Mike Ricksecker, in his book, which is all about time travel and timeline realities, he shares a little bit about that. And so he had a really great story of a shadow person that he experienced when he was a little boy. And so he was laying in his bed as a little boy, and this shadow figure was over him, and he got really scared and was trying to scream, but the shadow person kind of had his arms go around him. Well, what he figured out later, because he got to experience it from the shadow person, that was him in a different reality trying to comfort his little child self.
It is a weird story. Very weird story. And Mike is a good friend of this show.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Mike.
Yeah, I just 2.5 weeks in Egypt with him in April.
Abbott would like to know if you've ever had interaction with the blue avians.
I do, yes. In fact, when I was taking that psychic intuition class back in 2018, I got to first experience them as well. So the blue avians and the Andromedans had come through. But last year, they were the final group that I channeled. And I know that I had to prepare my body because they are such higher dimensional beings, like so incredibly energetically high and expansive that my body had to be prepared. And my clients that were taking these sessions with me, they had to be prepared as well. They had to go through all the other groups to run that energy so that they could experience the blue avians, because yeah, they're amazing.
All right, let's sneak in one more question here. We got about 45 seconds. Rose is asking, what are the beings clothed in blue light that we are surrounded by?
Beings clothed in blue light. I don't understand the question.
To me, that would be more angelic than any.
Yeah.
That's the way I would feel about that.
Yeah. Well, and some of these beings, they don't have names necessarily because they are just energy. Like we have beings existing here on Earth that are in these higher dimensional realms that just always exist around us. So, yeah. So I'm not sure about that question. Yeah.
We'll just call it what it is. We'll just do that. We'll just call it what it is. Dr. Lisa, hold on right there, because hard to believe we only have Dr. Lisa Thompson for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. And we're going to continue with audience questions after this. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. In a dream, I ran into myself.
Did you?
Yeah, it was a black and white dream, and I was how can I put it? It was like Old Town USA, like the old 50s style downtown.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't know how we got there. For some reason, I think we came off a bus or something like that. And it was pouring down rain, and we were trying to find a place to stay for the night. And once again, everything is in black and white. And across the street, I see this guy standing underneath the street light. And I run over to him to ask him where there's a hotel or a motel or a place to stay. And I'm looking at me, and that me is dressed in all black, like black leather jacket, black t-shirt, black jeans, black shoes. And he says, "You shouldn't be here." And I said, "Who are you? I'm just looking for a place to stay." And I'm going to swear here for a second because we're off air. He goes, "I'm going to if you weren't who you were, I would effing kill you right now."
Okay, wow.
And I went, "Okay." He goes, "You can't be here. Why are you here? I want to effing kill you so bad, but I can't." And it was like talking to like the evil me.
Okay.
Dark evil me. And that's all I remember. Right?
That's very interesting.
It was odd, but I knew it was me. I knew it was me that I'd ran into.
Okay.
So I don't know if it was just a dream or if I was actually visiting a different timeline than I was on.
Because you remember it like you do, I'm going to say a different timeline. Because, again, dreams, we do tend to forget details like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So since we're talking a little bit about regressions and these timelines and stuff, if you're interested, I would love to share a story about when I was regressed. I got to experience my life.
Yeah, we'll get it.
Super ancient Egypt, where I was one of the ETs. I was not the human.
All right. We'll get into that when we come back.
Okay.
Yeah. I love it. Sorry. All right.
Well, you're doing pretty good for being sick.
Trying my best. Trying to hide the coughing. All right. There we go. We got about just over a minute to go here.
Okay.
Astral Fugitive is asking, is that an orb of power around your neck?
It's an Andara crystal. So you could say an ET kind of crystal. And actually, for me, the power that it has, I would say it is an orb of power. What it does is it allows me, because it sits between my heart chakra and my throat chakra, and it's teal. And so what it does is it allows me to speak from my heart.
Love it. Love it. I have this around my microphone.
Oh, what kind of stones are those?
That's
Is it lapis?
no, it's sodalite.
Okay.
All right, here we go in like a couple seconds. Two seconds. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. We're going to get into regression therapy with Dr. Lisa Thompson when we return here momentarily. But first, I will remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We continue on with Dr. Lisa Thompson, award-winning author. She's based out of Hawaii because she chases down weird stuff there, including dragons and aliens. Welcome back, Dr. Lisa.
Thank you for having me.
You ever seen one of those Hawaiian dragons?
Well, I had not consciously, but I have a whole dragon team, and that's one of the ways that I travel to Inner Earth is actually on my dragons.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's astral travel sometime.
Let's do. Yeah, actually, Hawaii, we have a lot of interesting things here, more than just DTs. You know, we have a lot. I'm on the Big Island, which has serious vortex energy, portals. One security guard that I met at my financial advisor's office, he had a whole Sasquatch experience over on the Hilo side that he told me about. He also, when he was a teenager, he saw a mer person at one of the beaches. So there are things like that here.
Love it. I want to see the night marchers.
Well, so the stories are that you do not want to look directly at them. You divert your eyes. One of my friends here who is a psychic medium, they were on her property and they were fighting with each other. And so she had to have conversations with them to be like, okay, you can't be fighting here. You guys stay on this side. You guys stay on this side. We need peace. And because she asked in a way that they could understand, it's been very calm at her house now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. You've been regressed.
I have.
Tell us.
This was one regression where I got to experience two very, very cool lives. One life, and this regression happened a couple of years ago. And so not only do I regress people, but I like being regressed. I like, getting information that way. And so one of the lives that I got to see was super, super ancient Egypt, way more than 5,000 years ago, but it was during the building of the pyramids because they're way older than what we have been told. And so I was not a human. I was one of the ETs. I was actually a Syrian being, and there were two groups of us from Sirius. There was my group. We were the genetic engineers. We were the ones that were helping to upgrade the human body so it could hold more energy and have more consciousness. And then there were other Syrians, boots on the ground, teaching the Earth humans things like medicine, agriculture, astronomy, but also they were teaching them how to do the sound thought levitation process so that they could lift these megalithic stones and put them into place to build these pyramids. And so, you know, from my side, I was watching this happen. I was up in the spacecraft, and what we were doing was sending down sound frequency, and that's how the DNA was getting modified. And so what's really interesting then on this trip that I went on with Mike in April is that one of the temples, he's like, Lisa, come here, come here. And there were two places in this temple, and it's the only temple that we know that this exists, but they actually have hieroglyphs showing an energy field where basically this temple is getting levitated. And so two different places where, you know, it starts off on the ground, and then the next scene, it's raised up inside an energy field. And then there was a second place inside that temple where we were seeing that. So that was just really amazing confirmation, validation. And I know that other people have kind of theorized that is how some of these megalithic structures have been built. Because really everything is energy, right? Everything is mostly empty space. And so if you know how to properly raise the frequency, raise the vibration of the atoms, basically they can become light as a sheet of paper. And then the thought consciousness can move them. And so that was one of the lives. The other life in that same regression that I got to experience was I was some higher dimensional energy that was watching over Earth. And it was, you know, early in Earth's history before the animals were here. And it was my job to let whoever the powers that be know that it was time for the animals to be brought to Earth. So again, I've had this very strong connection with biodiversity. I didn't know it coming in and then, you know, being obsessed with animals until just a couple of years ago, where it started to all make sense.
As an alien and looking through that from alien eyes, what differed between what you would see as a human and what you were seeing as an ET?
From the perspective of the craft, you know, really no difference. It was just that we were up in the air. So we could very clearly visually see, you know, what was going on. And because we're telepathic, you know, we knew because they were part of our group. We just had different jobs, different responsibilities. And what was interesting with that Egypt time too, is that we had another experiment going on a different planet where we were sending down the sound frequency to, again, upgrade their DNA, but we were not intentionally interfering by teaching them anything. And so when looking at these two planets side by side, it was quite interesting because the other group that was not interfered with, that was not being taught, they evolved in a really nice progressive way where they still remained very close to the environment. They were highly spiritual, highly empathetic, filled with love, kind of like the Avatar, you know, the Na'vi, kind of like that kind of lifestyle. And so that ended up being a much more successful experiment than us teaching these humans how to do this. Because what happened was it was okay for a little while, but then, you know, power and control, some of the people, it went to their head. And that's when we start getting this polarized reality in that time period anyway.
Let's get to more audience questions here because they are building up. Let's go to Super Crazy, who is asking, are there any malevolent aliens that want to hurt us?
Okay, I love this question, and I get it regularly from my tour guests. So the way I like to explain this is that anything like us that's residing in third, fourth dimensional reality experiences polarization. So we have some Earth humans that are kind, compassionate, loving, service to others kind of people. And then we have other Earth humans that are the complete opposite of that. So yes, there are ET races that do exist in third and fourth dimensional reality that experience this polarity. And so there are individuals within those races that might be service to self and we might perceive their agenda to be malevolent, then there are other individuals within that race that are service to others and understand love a little bit more. But again, as soon as we hit that fifth dimensional level, then there's no more of that polarized reality. So the more that even you as human can keep your energy raised in a higher vibrational state, that is what is attracted to you. Like attracts like in that frequency energy. And so you're going to have higher frequency humans coming to you, and you'll have the opportunity to experience the benevolent ETs. If you're vibrating in a low negative kind of frequency, then you're more likely to have that kind of experience with humans and with the ETs.
Let's continue on. Let's go to J Truth Seeker. Do you swim with dolphins in the bay in Hawaii? And have you also had communication with Sasquatches and little people?
So I have swam with the dolphins in Kealakekua Bay as well as Ho'okena and other places. Now, they've made it illegal to swim too close to the dolphins. And so if you get caught, it's a big fine. But I have done that. I love dolphins. I always have. The cetaceans, the whales, everything. As far as communication with the Squatches,
we don't know what Squatches are around here.
Well, so I haven't, as far as I know, I haven't had communication with them, but I have friends that have. My friend April, she actually communicates regularly. They give her presents. She now channels them. I did have a regression client that experienced a life as a Sasquatch. And so from her perspective, we got to understand that they did originate on a different planet Maldek, which was the planet in between Mars and Jupiter. And that's now the asteroid belt. And they had to find a new home when their planet got destroyed. And so because they're interdimensional, they can shift in and out of dimension, which is why we don't have the same physical reality experience. The little people, not consciously, but perhaps in my astral travels.
Very cool. Very cool. Paramarv wants to know, does Dr. Lisa ever channel her ET contacts on her podcast?
Only one time when my guest didn't show up and I was already like ready to record. And I'm like, okay, do you guys want to talk? And they did. So actually, yeah. So my podcast really, it's about having people on to share their information and experiences and have an organic conversation. Now, occasionally I have channeled a little bit on other people's podcasts or spiritual summits that I'm a part of. What's interesting is, so my husband, he passed away just over a year ago. And, you know, because of my spiritual connection, I've been able to really heal from that. But I had taken a little hiatus on channeling, and it's only within the last month starting to want to come back again.
Good for you. Good for you to find that strength. It resonates. All right. Ange in Australia would like to know, can you see timelines through meditation?
Yes. And actually, so some of the work I do with my clients when we regress them, which is a type of meditation, and you can do this yourself too. Sometimes it's easier to work with someone else because they can help guide, but everyone can do this on their own. Is the more that you are shifted into that deep subconscious mind, then you can clearly see these timelines, and then you can jump to the one that you want and clear away the ones that don't resonate with that. And if you believe it enough and don't go back to the old timeline, you can stay there.
Dr. Lisa Thompson is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Let's go to Super Crazy, who's asking, is time travel possible to both the future and the past? Can we change the past?
Yes. Yes, it is possible. And there are different ETs that are very good at traveling through time like that, forward and backward. But again, time doesn't really exist. It's this third, fourth dimensional reality that we experience, where it's very slow, very dense, seems very linear, but it's actually in reality not. And then as far as changing the past, I know there are a lot of people who say, no, you can't change the past. I believe that we can, because we can shift to a different timeline reality, which automatically has a different past with it. So each timeline has its own kind of storyline. And when we jump to, let's say, a really extreme timeline difference from where we are, then the memories of what we have in that new timeline, that past is very different, but we don't know it's different because it's as if it's already or always existed. But again, with the regression work and making those choices of changing the story completely, you can completely rewrite your story. You can understand it from the higher meaning. And what that does is it does rewire the brain to really propagate out through all the timelines.
Matt would like to know, are the Andromedans part of the hybrid program?
They're not part of the Zeta human hybrid program, but they might have their own hybrid program, because there are different groups besides just the Zetas that are doing some hybridization. The Zetas are just the most common ones.
Let's move over to Woo Rider. Derek wants to know, do aliens ever interact with angels or demons?
Well, one could say that they're all the same thing. So that's an interesting topic. I think some aliens really could be considered angels, or they have the same energy as angels. And, you know, I've had different people on my podcast talk about some of this stuff too. And so, you know, my ETs, they wouldn't deal with the demons or the lower frequency vibrations. So I can't answer that from a very informed perspective.
Let's go to J Truth Seeker again. What is the purpose of the ET and human hybridization program? And did the abductions finally stop back in 2021?
Okay, I don't think they stopped at all. The purpose of the Zeta human hybridization program was, so the Zetas, they were like us originally. They were very diverse. They had emotions, but their emotions, they started feeling like their emotions were bad. And so what they did was they bred out all their emotions to become a completely mental, logical race. Well, what they did, or what happened, was that eventually turned them into being sterile. So they could only reproduce through cloning, and they were dying out as a race. And so when they realized the error of their ways, they decided to form an agreement with us, because we have such an amazing variety of different ET races within our body. As humans, we're very different than more pure races. And we still have our emotions. So they chose us as a group. We agreed. And so some Earth humans said, yes, I'll sign up for this program. And so what they're doing is they're taking the best parts of the Zeta DNA, the best parts of the human DNA, and creating a spiritually advanced hybrid race that has emotions, but is more evolved. They're more at that fifth dimensional level where they're not polarized anymore. So that's my understanding of that hybridization program. So people who experience feeling like they were taken against their will, or their eggs were taken, their sperm was taken, and they're feeling very victimized by that, it's because they don't remember at a soul level agreement that they signed up for the program. But when they realize it, then they're like, oh, okay.
Let's go back to Super Crazy. Did ETs create humanity?
I do believe they did, yes. Yes, they seeded us here, and they have different groups have come at different times to help upgrade the human body. And so, you know, in evolution, so I'm trained in evolutionary biology, and I got my degree at University of Chicago, but I had a joint position at the Field Museum of Natural History. And when I was in the late 90s, when I was at the museum, my office was there, we had a display on human evolution. And the big topic was missing links. And so I think the missing links in our human evolution are where these different ET groups came in, spliced our DNA, they upgraded us. And so ultimately what they were doing was creating a vehicle, again, that could hold more consciousness and run more energy, because as we are evolving into an ascended human race, into higher dimensional reality, we have to be able to run more energy through us.
Final question from Mr. Vermette. Do the ETs experience higher being experiences too?
They do. Yes, they do. And so some of them, they know that there's even higher levels for them to go. And some races, they are multidimensional. And so what they can do is they can shift their vibration up and down the frequency spectrum. So some of them that maybe are a little closer to us. So the fifth dimensional beings can densify their energy lower so that we could physically see them. Others, they can shift up and down. Yeah.
Do you buy that we give them permission?
Give them permission.
That it's pre-written in your human contract.
Yes, I do. I do believe in soul contract agreements with the ETs and also with all the humans that we come into contact with. And as an example, my first husband, he was extremely abusive. He had anger problems. And I know that I had a soul level agreement to experience that so that I could understand how someone can get stuck in that kind of relationship. How does one get out of it and then come out on the other side? And, I left him probably 18 years ago. And now, because I do understand that we're part of the same kind of soul family, and he agreed to play that role for me, like he played it really well. And I needed to experience that. And so I have been able to completely, from my side, forgive him and even thank him for playing that role for me.
How do you stay positive in a situation like that?
Oh, well, I went through some deep, dark times, some emotional darkness, definitely through that. But that's part of the amusement park ride. It's part of the roller coaster. And so came in to have a lot of up and down and loop-de-loop rides this time.
Wonderful. We got about 2 minutes left with you. This has been so much fun. We have to do this again. I told you this would fly by.
I would love to come back.
How often do you do your podcast?
It comes out once a week. So it comes out every Tuesday. I have a YouTube channel, and it's on all the podcast outlets and on my Facebook pages. And it's called Connection to the Cosmos with Dr. Lisa Thompson.
And what do you strive to accomplish with that for our audience?
So I love having conversations with people who have experienced ETs, who perhaps channel them, also people who do healing work, are psychic mediums, work with angels, basically anything that is in the higher dimensional realm, and just educating my audience about other things that they might not be exposed to.
That's got to be a lot of fun for you to connect with people who are going through this, who may not know where to connect or how to get their own story out.
Yeah. And when I started sharing my own stories, I was getting feedback from people thanking me because they felt crazy and they felt like unseen, unbelieved. And so it validated their own experiences. And so really, I'm here to share information and to just really let it be known that, if you feel like you've experienced it, yes, you have.
30 seconds. Tell everybody where they can find your books.
Okay, so they're on Amazon, but also on my website, drlisajthompson.com or mysticmanta.com. And then I have bigislandUFOtours.com as well.
That is wonderful. Wonderful. And if you're going to Hawaii, you're definitely going to want to catch one of Dr. Lisa's UFO tours. She got aliens, everybody. She's got aliens. So
I
you want
do.
to make sure that you go check it on out and have some fun with that. Coming up next in hour number 3, we have Swamp Dweller. Then Jackie Harmon will be here for the Crypted Report. Stay tuned, everybody. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. Wonderful show.
Yeah, thank you so
Very
much.
I told you you'd have fun.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you. Maybe you should come on my show.
I will.
Share your experience of Squatch and all the things. Yeah.
Yeah. Just when do you do yours?
I pre-record them.
Okay.
Yeah, it was too hard to go live with being the Hawaii time zone.
I'll come on your show. You just
Okay.
let me know. Message me.
I will. And I record on StreamYard as well. So
Cool.
yeah.
I know how to use that.
Yep.
All right, my friend. You take care.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Dr. Lisa Thompson, everybody. She's amazing. I don't know what a squatch is, so yeah. I'll be right back. Oh, goodness. Dropping stuff all over the place. There we go. All right, we got 1 minute to go. Jackie Harmon's hair looks great for tonight. So we're good to go. I am throwing cans around, apparently. All right. Thank you to Richard Minnick for our lone super chat tonight. Greatly appreciate the love. And don't forget, you could shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So let's continue on. Ten seconds. And 5 seconds. Here we go at the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Swamp Dweller just around the corner. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for tuning us in and making us part of your nightly entertainment. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Abduction. Abduction is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. So this one is hard to remember, as my mind could be better at remembering things. To clarify, I live in Brazil, specifically in the countryside of Rio Grande do Sul, and while my belief in the supernatural is almost non-existent, I can swear to God that what I saw to this day was real. Also, I'm sorry for any English mistakes since it is not my first language. So as I said, I live in the countryside. Our rural town making frontier to the big city down the road takes quite a bit. I'm a devoted Christian, but my autism does not allow me to stay too long at the church, as I'm too imperative to sit down and listen to it. So, most of the time, I tend to leave the church early. This was another day I had to go, and I had to leave early. This area of the street had no asphalt. It was all dirt. Walking back home, listening to music on my phone, I suddenly stopped and looked at a nearby tree. It was hard to describe what I saw due to the insufficient lighting as the sun was setting. But from the shapes of the branches, I could see a black, humanoid figure with red eyes and black horns. Although I don't think it noticed me, I started to run, and then I looked behind me to be sure that this thing was not chasing me. The moment I looked back, however, there was something else on the street. It was a dog, a really big dog. Its fur was black as the darkness itself. Its eyes were bloodshot red. The thing just sat down on the road, looking at me. I kept running, but the dog never seemed to follow me, but it still stared at me with those deep red eyes. Despite the running and having to walk on foot, I got home quickly and wasn't too terribly far from the church. It's weird, but I noticed how everything seemed too quiet while the dog was there. Usually things are still going on in the neighborhood, but it was as if everyone decided to hide away. For context, my home is in a hill-like area with 3 other houses. The first one is my grandmother, and then you go up a slight bump in the road until you reach my home. Up on the back is where my grandparents used to live. The gate for this house is now down there, so you must shout to get their attention to open it. My grandmother wasn't home at the time, so I kept playing on my computer until my parents were finally back home. Everything went okay until I suddenly heard something from outside. A voice coming from out there in a calming yet creepy manner. It almost sounded like a hoarse whisper, like somebody saying,
"Hey, open the door."
It freaked me out so bad, so I just hid in my room and waited for my grandparents to get home, and I didn't say anything to anybody about it ever until I shared this story with you.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another great story just like that. If you want more, just head to his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads. He's got thousands of stories just like that. So make sure you check him on out. Here's Jackie.
Oh, hello, Jackie.
Jackie Harmon.
Hello.
Pleasure to have you here. How you doing?
I'm good. You look like you're still fighting that cold.
I am totally fighting that cold, but that's okay. I'm getting better. I'm at about 65.3% right now. But hey, we have to do it. As long as I could speak and I'm not going to be coughing and wheezing the entire time, we will make sure that it goes through, as the show must go on.
Exactly. Well, I hope you start feeling better and better every minute. I
Well,
know
I've
what
got-
it feels like too. I get it a lot.
I get about two, how can I put, about two colds a year. One in the summer, one in the winter. However, I never had my summer cold this year. I had allergies.
Oh, I must have had it for you.
And so all of a sudden around our town, there's this really bad cold going around. And so I guess somebody decided to give it to me, and they were generous because I got the full effects of it. And yeah.
What you got, the monkey butt?
Nope, didn't have that. Just a sinus and throat cold,
Yeah, I think I'm in the very beginning stages of getting a sinus infection. Is without fail, I get it. Every single beginning of the fall, it's like clockwork for me, so it is what it is.
Yep, I fully agree.
Yeah.
I fully agree. So I haven't been monster hunting in a while. I haven't gone to my Sasquatch spot in a while. I'm going to be heading back there on Saturday, which I fully look forward to.
Oh, that'll be fun.
I cannot wait to get there. It's just one of those things where, you know what? Even if we see nothing, it just seems really, really peaceful there. It's kind of like it's almost turning into like a Zen and Chi area for me.
I totally get that. I feel so at peace when I'm out in the woods or just in nature itself. Like it doesn't have to necessarily be the woods. Like I just love being outdoors. So peaceful.
Do you think that the Sasquatch miss us? So, for instance, I haven't been there.
do.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I actually do. And I'll tell you why. Because this is something that I actually talk about with a lot of people because they remember us. They remember you. They know who you are. They know when you're coming, when you're there, your smell, like just everything about us. They remember us very, very vividly about like individuals of who we are, especially if you go quite often. They know you're there and they know exactly. They use sometimes I even believe they probably even like know us by name from each other, talking to each other and calling each other. They watch us. They're very observant, and I think that they know us.
I hope so. Like I understand that they probably recognize us and that they
Mhm.
probably have this pseudo relationship wondering when we're going to show up, and when other people show up, they're like, "Hey, who's that? Why are they wearing camouflage clothing? Why are they carrying weapons
Yeah.
or whatever it may be?"
Yeah.
But for the most part, this is why I try and do everything the same. Park
Mhm.
in the same spot, set up the lawn chairs in the same spot, set up the campfire in the same spot. We
Mhm.
do everything the same to make sure that we are always in unison with what's going on. And that way I think that's kind of like a show of respect that we are really trying hard to, you know, show them the respect too, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Maybe take them some Taco Bell out there and lay it out for them somewhere. They really love that. Those nacho fries.
I'm not like you. I'm not spoiled with Taco Bell in my small town.
Oh, well, that's my favorite to go place. If I'm gonna do fast food, it's gonna always be Taco Bell.
Well, you have
So
to do Taco
yeah,
Bell.
I
You
love
have,
it.
you know.
It's the best.
Otherwise,
Mm.
you end up, having to do like McDonald's or something along those lines.
Uh, my kids love McDonald's, but I am not a fan. Yeah.
Oh,
I like eating real food.
I
And
will
every
say,
time I eat there, I get sick. I don't want to feel sick. It never fails. I leave there feeling miserable.
I will say this though, there is a big difference. I can't eat American McDonald's. I cannot. Find it disgusting. Canadian McDonald's, way better. Way
Well,
better.
Canadian McDonald's probably sells real meat.
They have to.
And here it's like sludge. Cooking it up, cooking it.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
nasty.
I
Sludge
hear
on
it.
a bun. That's what I call it.
Yeah, sludge on a bun. Awesome. Awesome. What do you got for us for some spooky, creepy, cryptid stories tonight?
Well, I don't know if you guys all actually heard about this or just seen this. This video is like everywhere. All of a sudden, there is this family in Ecuador who recently just had on their, well, you know how everybody has these cameras, right? I mean, no matter where you go now, there's cameras. So I feel like this has a big part of like why things are getting captured so much more. But their cat actually attacked what they call a duende, which is like a fairy little person. And you can see it so clearly on this video. And the cat actually gets a hold of it. And it's like a tiny little thing. It's about the size of the cat, maybe a little smaller than the cat. But you can tell it looks like a little person. And the cat literally gets a hold of this thing and literally breaks one of its arms and then attacks its leg and kind of messes up the leg, but you see it like fighting to get away from this cat. And then all of a sudden, it finally does and takes off. And it just was mind blowing to see. But it really makes me think like, I really do believe that because everyone has these cameras up, like I'm like the only person in my whole neighborhood who doesn't have a Ring camera. And I'm always like, I need to get one of those Ring cameras. You never know what's going to come up to your door, right? And of course, these people never thought they'd ever see anything like that. But lo and behold, they've got footage of this, and it looks like a little, like a female duende, which is what they call the little people fairies. And it has like one of those, what I would call like an Italian style little like headband, like the little old ladies wear when they're cooking and stuff. And it's just mind blowing because it literally looks like a tiny little person, and you can somewhat see through it on this video, which is absolutely amazing. it blew my mind, but it also makes me feel like a lot more, creatures of mythology and cryptid are actually going to start being seen more and more and more because people do have these cameras.
I love it. I think that is wonderful. Now, did the cat kill it, or did
No,
it
it didn't
eventually let
kill
it
it.
go?
It doesn't show the very beginning of like how the cat got a hold of this thing, but all of a sudden it just shows, I think it was coming into where the camera was. And I think the cat probably thought it was like a toy or something because it's very small and went out to grab it, or maybe it was just scared by it or something and grabbed onto this thing, and you can see the cat like actually literally going for this thing and grabbing onto it and trying to figure out what this thing is. And this poor little thing is like fighting for its life, and you see it being flopped around by this cat. And it literally broke, like I said, broke one of its arms before it could even get away from it. And I think it kind of got, its mouth onto its leg, but the creature just sort of like finally flew away. But when that thing took off, it was like, I mean, instantly just gone. Like it was just out of like you can see it go, but it took off so fast, like not human normal speed. It was very weird.
Oh man, where can people find this video?
You know what? I actually left it on my phone so I could tell you that. Hold on one second. Had it on my mind and then, okay, now watch, I'll lose it. Hold on. I'm going to find it. Okay.
Oh, it
So,
happens all the time.
okay. So this one, I actually caught it off of Boise Bigfoot. And I saw it on another video place prior, and then I found it again on here. But on Boise Bigfoot, if you go on there, it says cat grabs a duende, and it'll show you. And it actually has it. It's very interesting because it's like night vision. And I think they did that so you could kind of see the movement and get it, but it also has like daylight um footage as well. So you actually see the cat and the little duende trying to like fight and get away from it. And it does get away. But that's where I saw it last. And I'm just mind blown by it because it's just something you just don't normally see. And the size of it, I thought was amazing because, when people say they find like fairies and small little creatures, they're usually literally like the size of your hand. You know what I mean? So for it to have like more height to it, like literally about the size of like a cat in length or height, I thought that was amazing. So it's really cool. I watched it so many times to try to like really get a good look at it, and the way it just like takes off. But you can actually at one point see like its head and the arms and something's on it like clothing. It was mind blowing.
I love it. I love it. I
Yeah,
mean,
it was really cool.
I got to find that video. I want to be able to see that video.
Here, I
That
will
is just,
send it to you. Hold on.
well, send it to me after the show.
Okay.
So that way we can check it on out. Is there a lot of Bigfoot activity going on right now?
You know what? I think there's a lot of activity going on right now because I actually have I have had quite a few people reach out to me recently and say that they've had sightings here. Quite a few actually in California. It's actually one of the stories I wanted to tell you guys about. Um, because I actually believe that two different times of the year there's actually mating season, and I feel like they do that in the spring and then they do it again in the fall. And they're not like monogamous creatures. They move from from one family member to another family member, whatever. And we obviously really don't know how long, a Bigfoot is pregnant. I mean, I would assume it would be very similar to like a human, but we don't know that. I mean, it could be less time, it could be a really long time. And, it's just interesting to think about because it's something we just don't talk about very often, about like a pregnant Bigfoot, but obviously they have, babies. So I don't know. It's a fascinating thing, but I do have a lot of people reach out to me at this time of year and say, "Oh my gosh, we were up at this location and we had a sighting," or we heard some other people say that they had a sighting in this location. And it's really odd because it has a lot to do with Northern California. And I actually have the story that just happened about these two guys that work up in that area. And what they do is they drive around and they make sure that everybody's safe in that area. They check on people like who are camping, who are traveling, and I'm sure they're rangers, but they have like these specific jobs that they go out and do. And they had a really bad storm recently, and they wanted to go check on this camping site that they knew that I believe there were about like maybe 5 or 6 campers in this one camping site. And the rain was coming down so badly that they were afraid it would start to flood because they had had flooding in that location before. So they drove over, and on their way there, they got a call saying that one of the people in the campsite had taken a drive but never returned back to the campsite. So on their way there, they said, "Well, let's turn around, go back, see if we can see if we see a car off the road," because they weren't looking prior to that. They thought, well, because of the rain, maybe they slid off the side of the road. So they're on their way back to go look, and they're driving pretty slowly, checking out the area. And one guy sees what he thinks is a man off a little bit off on the side of the road in the distance. And there was a huge tree that had fallen on top of him. So they thought they had found the lost camper. And so they go out there, they park their truck and they get out. And to their shock, it's not a man at all. It's actually a Bigfoot stuck underneath a tree. Well, one of the men immediately just went into like rescue mode and just started doing anything he can to try to make this Bigfoot feel like at ease that they were going to actually help it. And he stood there talking to it and just saying, "Look, we're here to help you. Stay calm." And he said it just kept and it was a juvenile Bigfoot actually. And he said the other guy gets out of the truck, comes over, and he's trying to help him, but he doesn't realize yet what is there. So he gets out and he's standing there and he's looking at it like in shock and he doesn't know what to do. So one guy's like, "Hey, listen, we've got to help him out. Like, take this, go, tie this up to the truck. Let's get this log off this thing." And all of a sudden, he's telling this guy, like, "You got to snap out of it and help us, right? We got to help this thing." And he's just in such shock. He just doesn't know what to say or do. And he says, all of a sudden, he could hear in the distance like noise, like as if there's more out there watching. And he said, "Okay, look, we got to get this done." Well, as they're trying to help them or help this, juvenile Bigfoot, he said all of a sudden massive, huge rocks were being thrown at them. And I think now that he's convinced that the other Bigfoot are saying, "You're hurting him, you're going to kill him, whatever, get away from him, right? We'll come help him ourselves." And so neither one of them had ever seen a Bigfoot. Now they've been living up there for years. And one guy didn't even believe in Bigfoot, the one that's in shock. He didn't even believe they even existed, even living up there. So he
Jackie, I hate
was,
to cut you off right
yes.
there, but we are
Okay,
going to go to break here. I want you to continue this story when we return. Bigfoot under a
absolutely.
tree, a juvenile one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how I would respond to that. You just can't bring out the chainsaw. Crypted Report with Jackie Harmon continues next.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear. Oh my God. What's happening, Jackie? Hello, Jackie.
Hello, Jackie.
Hello, Jackie.
I love when that thing says that.
Hello, Jackie.
Hello, Jackie.
How hard that was to find.
What is it from?
Some British television show.
Oh, that's funny.
Hello, Jackie.
Hello, Jackie. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Works for me.
I
I
like
am
it.
I am so warm right now.
I get like that every time I get a cold or sinus infection. I feel feverish all the time.
I
Literally running a fever.
I have this really thick wool sweater on to try and make me sweat it out.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's hard for me.
Yeah. Works for me though.
Ooh. I hope you're on some good medication.
Oh, Advil, cold and sinus, and I'll take some NyQuil before I head to bed here. As soon as I'm done, just to knock me out.
Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say, take it off. Take it off. Yeah, I actually work. I'm working at my family's business now every Wednesday and Thursday, and I'll be doing an event this weekend. So yeah, I gotta get up and go to work tomorrow.
Oh, nice. What's the family business?
We own a mining business.
Oh my, I did not know this.
Yes, yes, we do.
Hi,
We
Area
act-
51 and Eva.
yeah, we actually own well, that one's my sister's shop. I just work there. But my cousins, my sister, my brother-in-law, everybody, they all run all the KOAs, Campground of America, and
Yeah.
most of them, I think well, they run two here in California, but there's like 7 or 8 of them that they have. But so if the world goes to crap, I'll be at the KOA.
I'll be there.
Yeah. Come on
Save
down.
old Davy a spot.
Oh yeah, they got like 550 spots. We're good.
Right.
Yeah, we do mining for gems and gold and you name it.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
I'm always out looking for Bigfoot. That's why I'm not at the KOAs.
I like Bigfoot.
Jax is going to work tomorrow. Jax is not rich.
Mike Bothwell, how you doing? Joe says, I've stayed at KOAs. I didn't see Jackie.
You got to come when I'm there. We're actually doing a mining event here in Temecula. There's a Old Town Temecula like festival we're doing, and we're going to be doing that all weekend.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So the building that we have it in is haunted, actually.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. So we're actually thinking about maybe starting to do like, have people come in and hang out and like do like maybe a 2-hour investigation for fun, just come in and come have a drink. And do you want to do some mining or ghost hunting? Let's have some fun.
Thank you to Richard ×2, Deborah Rooney, Amy, and Flat 6 for the super chats tonight. Greatly appreciate the love and support. And we got like 20 seconds. I'm going out in the wilderness all weekend. That's what I'm doing.
I love being out there. That'll
Yeah,
be fun.
All right, Jackaroonie, we're coming back in like 12 seconds. Can you handle it?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Let's do this thing like here momentarily. Hard to believe we're already in the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. I'm the guy who wears a lot of tin foil just so I can bring this programming to you. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives. They're always free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio or on any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Jackie Harmon is here with the UFO report. Not that, the Crypted report. Let's call it the Crypted report. Yeah. Either way.
I'll get it right one of these weeks.
Yeah, one of these weeks I'll get it right. Hey, I'm battling sickness. I have a man cold. You know, that shuts us right down. You know,
Yeah,
so
it's like mashed potatoes for brains.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Although
Yeah.
I did have a good bowl of chicken noodle soup where there was no liquid in it after I put so many saltine crackers in there today. That was pretty
Mushy saltine crackers. Oh, I can't do it.
I
But
love
it
it.
is better than sludge on a bun.
Very true.
Yes.
Very true. I left the hot sauce out today, so I just had
Oh,
that.
that'll open your sinuses, actually.
I know. I wasn't in the mood for hot sauce tonight.
Ah,
Probably should have, but that's okay.
yeah.
That's okay. All right,
That's 'cause
we're
you're fighting the
talking
monkey
about
butt. Okay, so let's get back to what I was telling you guys. So we've got these two rangers, and one of them is now in complete disbelief of what he's seen. Now, well, actually, they're both in disbelief, but one just can't even like grasp what's going on. So he's basically like not helping at all. And the other one's just like right up in there, face to face, talking to this. But now I would say this is probably around, I'd guess, like maybe young teenage age Bigfoot. Like it's a juvenile, but not like a super young child. And it's completely captured underneath this log. Now at this point, like I said, you got Bigfoot in the woods that are watching them, but they cannot see. And it's pouring down rain. And now they are freaking out, thinking like they're either gonna like kidnap it or take it away or kill it or whatever it is they think they're gonna do. So they're throwing these massive rocks over at them. And then all of a sudden, the guy stands and just looks out into the woods and says, "Listen, I am not going to hurt him. I'm trying to help him. And actually, I'm having a hard time getting this log off. So you need to come out here and help me if you want him to live," basically. And the other guy's still trying to get it together and get this idea that this is actually happening. And the other guy's all up in it, like just talking to him and like embracing the situation, like as if, it's just a human being. He's like just doing his job. And so he says, out of nowhere, out come like about maybe 5 or 6 of these Bigfoot. Now, these are adults. These are not juvenile. He said they literally walked out of the woods, walked towards this enormous, like I'm talking massive tree that's laying across this poor, juvenile Bigfoot. And he starts telling them, like, get on the sides. And he's basically like telling all of them how to lift this thing up. And they end up having to chain up the truck to it. And they're trying to finally lift it up. But he actually ends up talking to them and explaining how to like lift it up. Now, they obviously knew how to lift it up. They're up there trying to do it. but I guess this thing was massive. And I thought, you hear these stories of all these Bigfoot, like how they just pick them up and throw them, like, and you're thinking, okay, there's like 5 of them by now picking this thing up. This thing must have been huge because they're struggling. And these 2 rangers finally get this, massive tree off this juvenile. And one of the Bigfoot comes around, picks it up, stands there and looks the guy dead in the eyes and literally puts his hand out on his shoulder, like thanking him. He didn't actually speak or say anything or grunt or do anything like that, but he just looked him straight in the eye, put his hand on his shoulder, like kind of nodded at him, and they turned around and carried him off into the woods. They said they both turned around, they gathered up their stuff, they got in their truck, and immediately the other guy who was having a hard time with it said, now listen, we're coming up with a story, and we're never going to tell anybody that this actually happened at work because they're going to think we're insane. We're going to get fired. They're going to think we're nuts. And he's already afraid everyone's going to judge him. So he decides, this is it. We're not telling this story. Well, the other guy ends up going out and telling the story anyway and says, listen, we don't need to be afraid of what's going on. People who are out here have seen these, and this is a normal thing that happens. Like, people see these. Now, is it normal for us to rescue a Bigfoot like that? No, but that's what happened. So the other guy ended up actually quitting his job. I think he just couldn't handle it, the idea of it. I think it freaked him out too bad. So recently he actually left the job, and he said about a month went by and he ran into him and saw him in a restaurant and said that the guy was like distant. He wouldn't approach him. He wouldn't speak to him. He just sort of kind of stood there and looked at him. But anyway, that's how their story went. And I thought that was absolutely just crazy. But, for someone to go through something like that, I can personally understand because of like what I went through, even like the experience that I had. I can understand why people would choose to walk away.
I can understand why people would walk away too. I mean, that's just completely freaky, especially for people who are not really into this subject. They have no investment into it whatsoever. These are the
Exactly.
people who have these encounters that literally give them nightmares for the rest of their lives, Jackie.
Oh, I know. I'm not even kidding you guys when I say I have literally had more nightmares. I do believe I have PTSD over what happened. It haunts me now. It really does. I think about it a lot. It's not a fun thing to live with. Like, you go out year after year, you're pretty well, for me, my whole life, and you experience things, but you never imagine something that could happen to you the way it happened to me with, the touching of the tent and the whole thing. Like, it's left me freaked out. It really has.
But on the flip side, and I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to downplay what happened to you. Okay, because what happened to you was absolutely extraordinary. And for people who don't know, Jackie was camping back in the end of June with Lee Strauss, and Jackie literally, in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere, up on Mount Adams in Washington State, got groped by a Sasquatch who put its hand right underneath the tent, started at her ankles, and worked its way. I'm sure you like the tushy squeeze, I'm sure that one was okay, but the rest of it, you can't do anything about it. But I guess what I'm saying though, because you and I have talked very intimately about this, both on air and off the air.
Yeah, we have.
With regards to this. And in a way, I don't feel, how can I put this without sounding like an idiot? A lot of times what we do as people involved in this field is we ask for it. Now, I'm not saying you asked for that whole thing, because I can
Yeah.
see where that affects you. I've had my own experiences that, I've had one experience being taken that I don't talk about because it was just an absolute nightmare for what happened to me. And I would say I
Yeah.
have PTSD on that too. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that we put ourselves in those situations trying to get that interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you. Do I necessarily feel like I put myself in that position? Yes, I did. Now, on my defense of the situation, I had never, ever been inside one of those floating tents before. That was a first for me, which I wasn't happy even before the Bigfoot rub down. Okay. I
Yes.
I don't like being off the ground. I'm not into heights. I don't want to be floating 5 feet off the ground. If it was up to Lee, we would have been 100 feet up in the air and I probably would have had a heart attack. But I have anxiety about stuff like that. And so to begin with, I was not happy about being in that tent whatsoever. So that did nothing for me to begin with. But then for that to happen, even about an hour after I crawled in the tent, was pushing me overboard. Like too much at one in one night for me. Yeah, wasn't fun for me at all. I wasn't enjoying that. Matter of fact, I couldn't even stop trembling. I remember that night as if it's like literally happening right this very second.
Hmm.
It doesn't leave my mind.
Yeah.
I try. I think about it probably way more than I should, but it's for some weird reason, anytime, and it could be on any reason or any level of anything going on in my life. And I have a lot of stuff going on in my life right now. So I think that has a lot to do with it. Um, but anytime my anxiety starts to kick up, I feel like I'm right back there in that moment, and it just does nothing good for me. And it's sad because, like, I still love going out and looking. Now, I'm never going to get in that tent as long as I live, but I'm not going to stop going out. I'm not going to stop researching and looking. Like, I mean, listen, I've already seen them. I already know they exist. Do I need to continue to keep going out to see if they exist? No. I've already seen that. I've already had those experiences. But there's something about them that I just really enjoy learning about. And that's why I keep going.
We have to keep going.
Yeah.
That's how we get the information out, is that we have to keep going and keep doing stuff like this and
Yeah.
putting ourselves, lack of a better term, at risk.
Well, we do. That's what we're doing. And we know it. But we're
Yeah.
aware of it and we're adults and it's our decision. Like, I know I actually get a lot of kind of negative feedback um, from people that think that I'm insane and that I asked for it or whatever you want to say. And that's fine. And I can live with that. Do I put myself out there? Yeah. Do I put myself at risk? Of course. So do you. But I feel like it's something that if you have a passion about, it's important to keep doing what you love. I love being
Right.
out there and I love learning. I think they're as curious about us as we are of them.
I would 100% agree with that. Now I don't like what happened to you. Contrary to what I said just a couple
Yeah.
minutes ago, I don't like what happened to you. You and I have talked about that.
Yeah.
It's a,
And
it's
yeah, and to be honest, I really don't feel like it was doing anything to try to scare me. I don't. I really don't think that isn't the intention was to frighten me. I think the curiosity of touching me or feeling like, is she in there? You know what I mean? Are they in there? I think it already knew we were in there, but I think the fact that it kind of had us in this odd um contraption that maybe it's never seen before. Listen, I've been camping my whole life, okay? And I've never seen one of those tents before. My family owns like 7 or 8 KOAs. I've never seen one of those things before. So, and I'm talking about one of those floating tent style tents, if anybody's wondering what I'm talking about. And so yeah, that was foreign to me. So for me to now think like that had to be foreign to the Bigfoot as well. You know, they're probably going like, what the hell? Like, how are you in there? How are you, like, how come I can still put my arm underneath you kind of thing? So in a way, I kind of feel like it was just more curious of the tent. But once it realized I'm in there, it just kept like, grabbing. I think it could see us. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, it's got like what? The tiniest little ounce of fabric. I mean, we're talking about like tent fabric. You know what I mean? Now, we almost didn't even put the cover on, and that's just a net. So if it had walked up, it would have just been staring at us. But I actually think that maybe it can see right through that material. Maybe.
I don't know if it could see right through it, but it could definitely feel the definition of the body.
It could feel the body. Believe me, it felt the body because it literally grabbed my entire body and it went up, back down, and back up again before it let go. So it was very curious about, and it squeezed, and it made sure it touched every ounce of me all the way up and back down and back up again before it. And the weirdest thing, we've talked about this before, we never heard that thing walk away. You couldn't hear it breathing. You couldn't hear anything. It was dead silent. It was crazy.
That just scares the hell out of me.
It is scary because, well, the crazy part was I was awake. I never went to sleep the entire night. And I was awake laying there listening for everything going on around me because for whatever reason, and I know we still to this day joke about it, but Lee was zonked out. And he just had this comfort level of like, yeah, whatever, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep, like no big deal. I could hear them walking around, but I could not hear the one that walked up to the tent. Now you could hear him like circling us. And this went on for hours. The talking, the chatter went on for hours. They touched everything in our camp. You can hear him grunt and like throw things. A couple times you can hear him throw things. But when it literally physically walked up and touched the tent, nothing. No smell, no sound, no breathing, no grunting, no footsteps. I mean, and I'm telling you, you're literally as if you're outside. You're just laying in a tent with fabric. You can hear. It's not like you're in a house, right? And I couldn't hear anything. Nothing. Not a thing. So I absolutely believe that they can basically just float on over without making a sound. I think they mess with our minds. I mean, I don't know I know you and we know about mind speak. I don't know if everybody on here knows about mind speak, but I know they do mess with our minds to feel a certain way or not feel a certain way, or to maybe sometimes wander off. In our case, one really interesting thing, and I think we've talked about it maybe once on here. I know we did on our show on Element 115 before. But at one point, and one thing that Lee and I do not remember whatsoever is all of a sudden out of nowhere, why you hear all this going on around us, Lee and I start having a full-blown conversation as if nothing's going on. We're laughing, we're joking, we're chatting for like 30 straight minutes. And you can hear in the audio, they're all around us. They're touching our stuff. They're talking, they're hitting trees. We got tree knocks, whistles, whoops, the whole shebang. And we're laying there having we're laying there chatting it up like,
yeah,
nobody's there. And
See,
we have no memory of that conversation.
And when we were in the forest, when we were leaving our area, when we were filming this summer, when we were leaving that night when we got stalked out. And being stalked is not fun by these creatures, by the way.
No.
The one thing that I didn't realize that I heard up until Samantha brought it up was that there were loud whistles as we were departing the vehicle with the vehicles. There were loud whistles, like they were following us down the trail to make sure. And I remember thinking that I heard a whistle as my front tire was hitting a puddle. And I just kind of pushed it off to the side until Samantha was like, no, they whistled at us twice. And I was like, that's what that was. Right. And it's one thing for them to be curious. It's another thing for them to chase you out of their area.
Yeah, it really is.
And you have to be careful. No matter whether you put yourself in that situation or not, you still have to be careful.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they are powerful. They are smart. And when we say at the end of every show, together, my friends, we own the night, it's not us. It's them who own the night.
It's definitely them. Absolutely them. You know, and the people who go out there like us, we are very aware of this. Now, there's a lot of new people who are trying to go out and do these things. They listen to our shows. They'll reach out to me. I'm sure you've had people reach out to you. Oh, that's so cool. I want to go out. I want to do this. And I tell them very first thing, safety first, because you're in their territory. You're in their home. Okay. That's where they live. You're walking into their home. That's like somebody walking into your home and you're going to be like, hey, what's going on? Why
Jackie Harmon, thank you for being on the Crypted Report. Say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. Rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, Elvia, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
make a mistake. We're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Continuing with what we were saying, I totally agree with you. Like, I don't recommend people going into the forest and just looking for this shit, man. I don't recommend that at all. I mean, it's, you don't know, like, even I don't consider myself an investigator, Jackie. You know that. We've had that conversation.
Yeah.
Sorry, just something jumped up on my Spreaker screen here. But for the most part, if I were to be if one were to walk into my camp, I don't know how I would react to that. I can stand here or sit here and talk tough in front of a microphone. Okay. But when, like, example, when we were in the forest that weekend and I looked over at my buddy Mark, who is our bodyguard,
Yeah.
looked at him, that was the first time I had ever seen a look of concern.
Yeah. Did he actually see one that night, or did he feel it?
No, he was listening to it.
Oh.
So he could hear it going, traipsing through the trees and then back,
wow.
and it kept getting closer and closer.
Oh, it was pacing you.
It was casing us. It was stalking
Yeah.
us,
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
right? And
absolutely.
I literally saw and Mark will never admit this because there's not much that phases him in the forest.
Yeah.
But what I saw in his eyes was enough to rattle me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was enough for me. And, you know, I understand that people want an adventure. Okay. And they want that experience and everything. And, you know, there are
Yeah.
certain people I don't mind taking into my Sasquatch area because my Sasquatch area, the main one, is very
Mhm.
open.
Mhm.
It's a very open place where it would have to run up to you in order to get to you. But
Yeah.
the rest of it, though, it's like our other spot where we were filming, I wouldn't take a rookie up there.
Oh, no.
Not after what we've experienced. I wouldn't take a rookie up there, and I definitely wouldn't take
No.
a rookie there in the middle of the night. And I sure as hell would not take somebody in there who's a strict science flesh and blooder, okay, who's
Yeah.
gonna be like, no, we want this to happen. We need this to happen. You know, I'm not there to get my limbs ripped off.
No. No. Yeah. No. And I'm actually glad you said that because I have a really hard time making people understand, okay, we are experienced. Okay, I've never once ever said I'm an expert in this field, and I'm not. Um, I have a lot of experience. Um, but even with that, I have a really hard time with taking certain people out because I know what can happen. I've been there. I've seen it. I've dealt with it. And it's not always something that anybody can deal with. And I totally agree with you. Like, but you have to have people who also have that gut feeling of and follow your intuition of like what you know and what you hear. Like Lee and I just did a show called Patterns of Bigfoot. And this is exactly what we do. We go out and we continue to look for those patterns, and that's what brings more and more information to us, the research and Bigfoot to us. There's not just one. I know there's so many people out there crack me up and they'll go, well, there's only one, and it's like, that's so not true. Like, there's probably hundreds of thousands of them. Like, I can't even imagine how many there are just because you don't see them, and they're hidden they're hidden well because they know how to stay away. Um,
Hey,
there's way
there's
more than people think.
if you don't think that they are masters of camouflage,
Oh,
there has,
absolutely.
but I'm saying for people out there who may not think that. I've
Oh,
go hunting one day or just go you don't even have to hunt. Go
yeah.
driving through the wilderness one day where there are wild animals, whether it's deer or foxes or bears or mountain lions
Yeah.
or wherever. And go out
And
there.
you may not even hear those coming up.
Mhm. How many animals do you pass that you do not see?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I've been
Deer
hunting.
hunters. deer hunters say all the time, they'll be sitting there waiting for a deer to arrive, and then out of nowhere, it's like right there on them, and they never heard it come up.
Never
It's
heard it, never
silent.
saw it,
Never
didn't
saw
see
it.
it move,
Nothing.
nothing.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
chances I was hunting recently where we didn't see a single animal.
Oh,
Okay, we barely we were hunting grouse
that's
and we didn't see a single grouse. We didn't see a single deer. We didn't see a moose. We didn't see a squirrel or a chipmunk. We didn't see a bear. There were no cats. Okay, and there's a lot of different cats in our area. Nothing. Didn't see it. The question is, how many saw us?
Oh, absolutely. I was just gonna say, guarantee you there were animals.
Oh,
You
guaranteed.
just
We're
you
we're
don't
right
hear them.
near it.
Oh
We're
yeah,
right near it.
absolutely. Same
Where
for
are
me and Lee when we were at Mount Adams. We didn't see animals. I kept saying, "Where are the animals?" We didn't see any animals except for one guy who walked by with a horse that he was holding on to, And
Yeah,
even that was odd because the guy didn't even acknowledge us, walked right past us, and we're in the middle of nowhere. Never looks
everything.
at us, doesn't acknowledge us.
One of the biggest lessons that I have learned since I'm becoming more outdoor aware
Mhm.
is that everything affects the forest. The sound of your vehicle, the sound of vehicles elsewhere, whether it's ATVs or loud 4x4s, gunshots affect the animals. Rain,
Mm,
take away the human aspect.
yep,
Rain affects the animals because if it's damp out there, they're
yeah,
huddled in the trees, staying warm.
yep,
Okay. If the sun, just because the sun comes out, doesn't mean that they're going to give up their warm spot that they've created for themselves
yeah,
and just start wandering around looking for food. It's not how this
absolutely.
works, right?
Hmm.
So, I mean, I don't understand what you're saying, Area 51. I want a story, Jax. Jax, tell us 1-1. No, Dave, you dismissed Jake Paul's UFO image. I'm going to put, what does that have to do with anything, Area 51?
What did it say? Something about me?
I don't know. He's playing the repeat game like we don't see the message. And so usually when they go on repeat mode, I don't respond. Um so anyways, it's for most people out there, they don't understand um they don't understand the terrain, the area. It's not
Yeah,
just going to an area, say, well, this area looks good. Let's wait here for a Sasquatch and see if
yeah,
something shows up.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, you don't just walk in and think all of a sudden it's just going to come out of nowhere. There's been many, many years where I'll go to locations and I actually do things a bit differently. My family, when we would go out and do stuff, we would actually follow the algorithm of sightings. Most people just pick a place and they're like, we're just going to go here and then we're going to repeat, go there over and over and see what we can find. There's actually a um, place online where they'll put in all the sightings that people report all throughout the year, and there's an algorithm that shows you when and where they will most likely be. So we would follow that and we would go out and look. And that's why I actually went to a location here up in Northern California. And it'll blow your mind when they're supposed to be in a certain area. You go there and then you get some of the most amazing, uh, you know, well, things. What am I trying to say? Like, the evidence basically, like you'll find nests, you'll find tree structures that like are obviously not man-made. They're in a very weird formation. Most of the time, they're usually like several sticks pushed up against a tree on one side. Um, Now, I grew up, my family's Cherokee Indian, and so I was told a lot of things very young age of that about Bigfoot. And so this was something that just came naturally for learning and wondering about like what to look for. But even as a very young girl, I knew that these were markers, that they actually leave these things for other Bigfoot travelers who come in, or families, and they leave these things. Some of them are actually in shapes of letters. Believe it or not, we would find over and over um, these trees shaped in A's, like the letter A's. We would find them in triangles. So they actually do use like shapes. It's very interesting. And a lot of people don't even know that, but they do. And then you will find strange um, tree structures that look like massive teepees, but literally are like, maybe 10 feet, 8 to 10 feet tall. And you're just thinking, like, how in the world? Like, what human being is just going to go out and then create these structures random, just hoping one day somebody might walk in? It's probably not going to happen. So, but I've seen these over and over and over in different locations, and I've been to every state in the United States, and every single one that I can go do a Bigfoot search, I will go and I will look, and I have. And you'll continue to find the same things no matter where they are from one state to the other. It's actually very exciting to see that it doesn't matter where they live. They very much have the same type of pattern and structures, and different things of markers, and there's always going to be trees that bend down towards water. And so it's fascinating to me to see it no matter where you go. I love it. It's really cool because it just validates it.
Oh, I agree with you. I fully agree with you. The validation is a good thing.
Absolutely. What's the one thing that you see the most in Canada that you go like, okay, I know that's Bigfoot. Like you just know like that's not man-made and it's something strange. What's the one thing that you guys see the most in Canada?
Well, I think it depends on the area, just like it does down there. Like in our one spot, we've gone there so often now. There are things like this year, it was the tree bends, the bending of the trees where they're bent right over and stuck into the ground or stuck underneath a log. We never saw that before. It's every year there's more dead wood that kind of falls around the area, so you have to kind of navigate around that.
Mhm.
Up at Flight 21, it never changes. There's nothing there that shows that they are there. They're just there. There's no structures. There's no signs that we have picked up on.
Interesting.
It's just a matter of they are there.
Well, what's that area like? Are there mountains?
No,
Wow.
no. You got to realize I'm on top of the mountains. Like everything I do is on top of a mountain,
Yeah.
right?
I was
And
just wondering if maybe they might have some kind of cave system or something where they go off and they don't have, the nest or the tree structures, or even, hey, even in Northern California, we've come across many times where they'll have cliff overhangs where they'll nest up in there. They have caves up in there they use. They'll have like
Well, I'm
old
sure there's
trail,
systems.
train track places, and I mean it's fascinating, like all the things they find and use.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But either way, it's that time of the night for us to say goodnight. My voice is starting to hurt.
Well, I
But
hope you feel better.
I will. I will. Thank you tonight to Richard ×2, Deborah Rooney, Amy Flat 6, and we're good there tonight. Tomorrow night on the show, everybody, let me find the date. Jessica Jones, the Crypted Huntress,
Aw,
returns for an interview.
she's coming back.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We love her around here.
That's
Jax,
what we do.
see you soon.
Thanks for
And
having me on.
the rest of
Bye,
you,
guys.
see you tomorrow night.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.